Right. Good morning. This is the Continue Mission radio show. Greg Meekin just doing a microphone check here. Good morning.
We are present and accounted for. Can you hear me okay, Val?
I can hear you. I can hear you. So, Secrets from the Inside Radio Network. It's episode 20. Continue Mission starts now. And Greg, you're coming through loud and clear. You look great, by the way. How are things? I want to just let you take a minute and welcome your guests. And I'm just going to share our broadcast. We have some guests this morning. So after you just introduce yourself and the show, I'm going to bring our guests on and say a good morning to them.
That sounds great. Okay. Who paid you to say I look good this morning, Val? Who paid you? Was that $5 on the side, $10 on the side? Welcome. I'll take a few minutes here, Val, and just kind of introduce the show and stuff. This indeed is the Secrets from the Inside Radio Network, a 35-year brand. What's fun is we have 3 shows lined up today. Hour 1, which we're going to be kicking off here, is Continue Mission Radio. Second one up is going to be Secrets from the Inside, my anchor signature show. And then the exciting one at noon, we're going to bring all the talent to the table here. We've got Mike Russell coming in for In Other News. I just know Mike's going to tear it up today because I think there was like a debate last night or something. Okay, I have a funny feeling Mike's going to tear it up. So everybody tune in from 9 to 10 is Continue Mission from 10 o'clock to noon. And this is all Pacific time. I do everything in Pacific time, Val, right? I work in like 8, 9 different time zones. So I just say Pacific time, everybody else figure it out. Okay?
That's right.
For our guest in the first hour of Secrets from the Inside, he's actually, and we're waiting to log in with him as the show comes up, but he's coming out of Spain today. That guest is coming out of Spain. So when he gets on the air today, it's going to be 7:15 at night, his time. My Australia listeners won't be listening to this live because it's like tomorrow night. It's like over in the middle of the night in Australia. So here we go. It's going to be fun. Continue Mission is always, it's always close to my heart because this is about military veterans. Hopefully, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, Val, we have Captain James McCormick parachuting in today. Captain James, hopefully he parachutes in today. You never know with James, right? He could be called out to, goodness, anywhere abroad, overseas, Washington, D.C. He could be called down. He's going down to Texas in October, which I'll talk about that on the air sometime. Big meeting he has. So Continue Mission is by veterans for veterans, and it's a show that goes off every night on Friday nights, which you'll talk about a little bit later. But what I love is on Wednesdays, today, first hour, Continue Mission. It's really a rapid deployment, kind of a satellite show of their Friday night show. So I always invite James on to give me the latest with the Vietnam Vets of America. Every week they've got news and updates about Vietnam Vets of America, or as Canadians would say, Vietnam Vets of America. But Vietnam Vets of America, Captain James will talk about that. And if he is not able to parachute in, you and I will be talking about it because we're really passionate about these guys. Early plug is vva.org. Sign up for a $100 lifetime membership, Val, to the Vietnam Vets of America. They've got, last count, 98,500 subscribers, members, and a whole bunch more as far as reach. These guys reach hundreds of thousands of veterans. So that Continue Mission is going to be opening the show. I hope that Captain James can parachute in. Otherwise, it's going to be a great show. We're running, as usual, live radio by the seat of our pants. One little flaw today in the broadcast is I'm not able to live stream this on my brand new Rumble channel. So we'll be rebroadcasting it and stuff. But as of this moment, this is not going to be live stream on Rumble. But again, it'll be up there as a post-production show. I'll just turn it back to you a little bit, Val. You're the facilitator. You're Miss Val, the military guy's radio gal. Take a minute or two. You have been
Yeah, and I just
brilliantly
wanted to give you.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Val.
You are cutting out a little bit. You've got a bad connection where you are. I don't know where you're broadcasting from. Is it Baghdad? But you're cutting out on us, Greg, a little bit.
Really?
So I will take the microphone for a minute here. Yes. Yes. Do you remember when I would try and live stream through Canada and my microphone would come in and out? That's what's happening to you this morning. You're coming
Wow.
in and out. Just the last 2 minutes of what you were saying. So I do want to just put
Wow.
your mind at ease, and let you know
Wow.
that we are streaming this morning on Facebook. I have tagged you. I have tagged all your friends and all your friends' friends. And it looks like we do have some guests as well. We are streaming through the Alberta USA Statehood Movement page. So I've let all your friends in other countries know as well. And a shout out to everyone on X who is listening. We
Mhm.
have Dale Richardson. He's a real heavy hitter in Alberta, and he's stopped what he's doing to listen to the show.
Really?
So I just want to
Welcome,
welcome
Dale.
guests and friends this morning, and I'm going to keep checking. So if anyone has greetings or messages or anything you want Greg to know, you just comment on our Facebook, our X, or our YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube this morning as well. So back to you, Greg.
Well, let me do a double mic check here. That's a big surprise. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can. Your camera, the last second here is coming in and out as well, but so far so good.
Wow. Boy, maybe Justin Trudeau's after me. Maybe something like that, trying to shut me down a little bit. It sounds perfect on my end, Val. So if I do end up cutting out, I can't see it because I look just fabulous on the screen and sound fabulous on the mic.
Yes,
But if I start cutting in and out, you just take the mic here. I don't
I will.
want garbage sound. Okay.
Okay, you're
So,
good now. Everything you are streaming just beautifully. So, while you have the microphone and the camera and it's working, I'm just gonna go right over to you, and you just let me know when you need me. I'm your partner here. So
you're
whatever I
oh,
can do to assist.
you're my facilitator. You're my
Yes,
facilitator. I'm Maverick. You're Phoenix. Okay.
yes.
And if again, I'll do a little monologue here, 1-2 minutes that I think that I missed last time. If my sound or my camera looks like garbage, just go ahead to you. You're much better looking than me, anyways. And if your mic sounds good, it's way better than me. So I was introducing. Hopefully, I'm really keeping my fingers crossed here that Captain James McCormick can parachute in. And because Continue Mission is his show on Friday nights, going out to veterans every Friday night, Continue Mission. And it has been for a while, Val, like almost a decade or something. They go out to, you might remember, we co hosted Continue Mission a while back. And I keep reminding James McCormick that I think it was the #1 rated show of the night with me and Miss Val on, if I recall, 200,000 views and downloads, Val. So
Wow.
the beautiful thing, I mean, is here we go. I'll go on a couple of rants and emotional stuff today, as usual. But what I love about Continue Mission, I love about the Vietnam Vets of America and everything is it's so inclusive right now. They're not just a kind of a little private organization with veterans. They deal with veterans, especially these disabled guys and these PTSD guys, but they deal with active duty guys who have a lot of challenges. They deal with guys coming back from the non-war theater that Biden talks about. Yeah, we don't have any troops on the ground. Well, ask the guys that are coming back from there. Okay. Anyhow, first controversial line of the day, right? But look forward to James coming in and again, Continue Mission. What I've done is Wednesdays, of course, Secrets from the Inside Radio Network features Continue Mission, 9 a.m. first kickoff show. And really, this is, as I consider, and I've chatted with Captain James, this is like a rapid deployment every Wednesday of their Friday show, Continue Mission. We're just continuing the mission every Wednesday to a different and or broader and or varied audience. So basically, as they say, getting the word out, getting the word out. So these are rapid deployments on Wednesday, as they say. These we've done that a couple of times before. A side note: we once did a rapid deployment, getting James's show on the air on Friday night because he was shut down. His entire platform was shut down. And
Yes.
do you realize he gave me a text, and in 7 minutes, you and I launched that on X at the time of
Yes.
Twitter Spaces. So
Yes.
welcome to the military world, rapid deployment world, because everybody, you can do rapid deployment even in the civilian world. You can get moms coming to the home front. You can get teachers and PTA folks and everybody come to the home front, to the community, working together, etc. So Continuing Mission is just a wonderful brand. And again, it's reaching out to military veterans, it's reaching out to active duty, it's reaching out to law enforcement folks and first responders. We're all on the same team right now with multi generations. So my sound is still hanging in there, Val. Am I okay?
Yeah, loud
Okay.
and clear. You're
Yeah.
streaming to perfection, and our
Good.
numbers just keep growing and growing. So I want to welcome all our guests this morning. This is exciting. We want to just make you feel at home and make you a part of our mission. So if you have questions or you want to let us know, if you can, if you're not in hiding and you can tell us where you're listening from, definitely do that. I did get an update that if we play any music, we are not going to be able to stream in all countries, Greg. So I think it might be a
Really?
blessing in disguise that we're just cold. It's just our voices today, no
Wow.
music, and we are prevented. So censorship sucks. It's
Is that
just
a
not.
network thing? Val, is that
In,
like a network thing or is that an international thing? Or I know Canada, God love Canada. It used to be my country, but I know they censor stuff at the border so that Canadians can't see American content. Is it kind of like that, Val? Can you explain that? Or
Yeah. So what I'm told this morning is I had like a warning, like a big yield sign come up, and it's letting me know if you choose to play music, we are not going to let you broadcast in our country. But unfortunately, as to
wow.
which country it is, I can't say. But we are an international radio show,
Mhm.
and we do have listeners from multiple countries that are on our show this morning. And it's
Yeah.
very exciting. We have guests that might be popping in, parachuting, dropping in.
Mhm.
So I'll leave that with you because it is Secrets from the Inside. And you hold the Santa bag on secrets. So wherever you want to go, I'm ready.
That's called teeing it up. Teeing it up. And the thing I love, I really do. And then the nice thing about live radio is I've always said, hopefully you don't know what anyone's going to say. We don't even know what we're going to say over the course of a 3-4 hour broadcast. And that's the beauty of live radio. And today, what I would just kind of like to kick it off with. This is going to sound funny, but I'm just going to kick it off with kind of who we are. You and I've been broadcasting, Val, for it's going on 3 years. Long
Yes.
in the old days of imagine Twitter X before Trump and Elon figured that those would be great discussion shows. So we go back way over 2 years, and so I'll just do a little monologue to catch people up. Once again, there'll be a bunch of live people watching, but really this is going to be replatformed. And as Riabo says, relayed. The relays where you never know things are going to end up. Anyhow. But you and I go back a couple of years. I'll just relax into the show here and wait for Captain James again. Fingers crossed, he's going to be able to parachute in. He's in Washington D.C., so he's really really busy these days. Anyhow, we go back a couple of years. This actually today, this is you and me, Val, broadcasting. My baby boomer business, quantifying everything. Guess what? Show number 60. You, me
Wow.
broadcasting today. We could have like a little party or something. If we were able to stream music, which we're censored to do, we could play like a happy anniversary or something. So, anyhow, but 60 episodes, awesome. James is coming up, Cap McCormick, and again, kind of cross broadcasting on Continue Mission and stuff. James and I have been on today, will be, if he can come on, will be show number 29. And so we really have been a call it a digital presence for a number of years. And on I still have my existing YouTube channel that has a lot of that stuff. There's good old Captain James on the screen, thanks to our facilitator, Miss Val Olson. And on my YouTube channel, which is Greg Meekin, there are still over 1,000 videos, 1,400 videos, and mostly full shows and clips of these types of shows. A lot of you, a lot of James, a lot of Sheriff Lambs, a lot of fun people on that YouTube channel. So that is Greg Meekin. I no longer am going to be posting current stuff on YouTube. Long story there. Some of my listeners and readers know that I was badly hacked on August 14th. And the message of the day is, it can happen to you. Okay,
Yeah.
it can happen. I mean, I'm telling you what, even to this day, to this morning, even in setting up for this broadcast, there might be issues there. So it can happen to anyone out there. But since then, I've kind of had to retool. I'm walking away from YouTube completely, just in terms of a difficult company to deal with. They've been wonderful as far as presenting my videos, and especially on analytics. We've got analytics on that YouTube channel. As you know, Val goes out easily to over 70 countries. We've talked about this, multi cities, very broad reach. But let me just put it this way. I'm worn out on YouTube. Thank you very much. On simply trying to contact them. I've run into, I'll tell you what, something like a quote tragedy of being hacked. And I mean, they got as far as nipping at my bank account from a Meta page. So hello, very, very interesting
Did you
stuff.
really try everything? Like some people, they'll complain about it online, but did you want to just take a minute and, did you really go through all the steps?
Oh my God. My God. Did I ever send you the fax page that I sent over to, did I?
You did. You really did. Yeah.
You wouldn't have, oh, I can't believe it. You wouldn't be capable of posting that, right? Or maybe that's for another show.
It looked like this. It was kind of like just very generic. It was just, a typical fax page. It said fax at the top and 2 lines. If you wanted to read it, go, you're well, you
I'll
can.
tell you what, I'm gonna grab it. I think I have it somewhere.
Okay.
I'm serious. That's like good
Yeah,
enough as
it's worth it. If you can grab the original, I think that would be great because a lot of people don't, they complain and say, "Oh, I was hacked," and they'll vent about it, just at a surface level, like they'll turn
uh,
on their camera, but you took it
uh.
right to the very top. So, it's up to you. We could,
Yeah.
I if you wanna
You
grab
know what
it
I'm
or
gonna do? This is really cool. No, this is cool. Again, live radio. I didn't expect
right.
that, but I'm gonna go pull up that
Okay.
because I think you're right. It's worth mentioning. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna mute and stop cam me here. If you want to go on your own here, take a couple of minutes, Val.
Yep.
Take a couple of minutes and do. And if anything, we're just settling in here and stuff. For some reason, I have a funny feeling that Captain's tied up in DC or something. He might be talking to one of the presidents, Val. Yeah, you never know. So take a couple of minutes, okay? And very much like I've done, review a little bit just these last couple of years,
Okay. Yep.
how it relates to continue mission a little bit and stuff. But take just a cursory review, because once again, whether it's live, not streamed on my Rumble, thanks to Justin Trudeau, whether it's live or whether it's replatformed, the majority of people are going to be seeing this for the first time and meeting you and me for the first time. So
Right.
take a few minutes, do a nice little Val monologue here. I'm going to go and try and track down some data intel. Okay.
Got it. Got it. Greg is in the field. So that means I have the controls for a minute. So Greg and I met just about 3 years ago, and this is the original book that Greg that I purchased. I bought this from Greg. This is his book, and as you can see, it's well worn because I've read this book 11 times. Why would someone read a book 11 times? Well, I'm an obsessive fact checker, and I know a good thing when I find it. So, this book could be yours for a limited time for $5. It's so easy to purchase. You can have it in your hands, read it on demand. $5 right now on Greg's website, gregmeekin.com. You will find so much intel on his website. But the reason I love this book, it's even autographed, is because it's a manual, and it was right where my heart was. I was fed up with Canadian politics, and just at an at-home level, and it was hard to find material that talked about even the relationship of Canada and the USA. And this book, it's funny, it's educational, but it was also, most importantly, right where I was at in life. I was wanting solutions. I was wanting to know, how can Canada get to the USA, like where they're at, and look at the USA. What separates us? What makes us different? And American exceptionalism is a thing. And I was finding when I left Canada, there were what I would call an anti-American sentiment coming in. And I'll talk more about that later. But really, it was kind of turning into, at a local level, trash America a bit. And I didn't like that. And so I found Greg's book, which compares Canada and the USA, just daily life, was so on the mark. And you will laugh, you might cry, but you will find yourself relating and having an opinion. And I have lent this book out to people from all walks of life, on all ends of the political spectrum. And everybody enjoyed it. So even for Christmas, if you're doing a head start on Christmas shopping, $5, this book could be digitally dropped onto your device in seconds. So check it out. It's also on Amazon. If you want it by print, you can do that. But gregmeekin.com is where to go. And I think Greg is ready to jump in here, hopefully. And just take it away, Greg. We were bringing you
Sure.
back. I'm just going to set it up here. You
Sure.
were hacked, which is really invasive. It's invasive when you're hacked. It's like digitally having everything exposed, and anything can happen because you're held hostage, right?
Yeah.
So this was really extreme when it happened to you, and you're not one who walks away, right? You don't walk away from a fight. And so I've had the privilege of hearing play by play, punch by punch, of how these digital losers tried to take you down, but they were unsuccessful, because here you are today in person. And you're going to just give us a play by play of what happens when Greg Meekin is hacked. Over to you.
Wow, you should be in professional golf. You can tee it up. You can tee it up like no facilitator I've seen, Val. Great. And I heard you off the air. It's great. You were talking about me and my book. That's awesome.
Yes.
Me. It's awesome when you talk about stuff. No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I did not expect to talk about my hack today. Thank you for drawing that out as the investigative journalist you are. Seriously. I'll do a little bit of chat about it. I haven't talked about it on the air. I've just said I was hacked and it was bad, but I will I'll take a couple of minutes here, and I'll also review with you. I discovered some intel. I'll actually hold it up here. Let's see. I'm terrible, man. This is actually a fact sheet to YouTube. Okay, I'm actually going to take a minute, and I think I'll even read that because a lot of my listeners like to hear me read, Val.
Yes.
Honestly, this is a big deal to me because I'm an old baby boomer. I was raised in the 80s and 90s business wise before the internet. I think that I'm a well-versed guy. I'm not an IT guy, but I understand I get spammed every day. I have been hacked before in the past, as a lot of people have. I've been cloned more time than a sheep. You know what I mean? Cloned all the time. I think there's like 18 Greg Meekins on Facebook right now. It's a nightmare. And so I thought I was pretty well versed, especially protecting myself on the internet. But goodness gracious, I'll try and be brief here. But I got phished, PHI phishing. I got phished off of Meta, off of Facebook, and I had again, it wasn't my first rodeo first rodeo gig. So I was wary about that, but boy, they got me, and they got me using clones of my friends' photos, where I really, really believe I was talking to these guys, and it was really, what people don't know, it was really a 2-layer hack. Oh my goodness! You know what? You know what? Guess what? Guess what goes on hold? Okay, we'll keep the hacking story. James James McCormick, okay, is on the screen. I'm just like, it's like someone's arrived to the party. Okay, Captain McCormick, I'm going to take a few minutes here to let you get settled in. Look at you. Look at you. You're ready to go, aren't you? You're ready to go
And
today.
I've been rocking and rolling since 0600 today.
Oh,
You are
really?
the fourth meeting I've had today. The fourth meeting I've had.
Wow. I'm going to do this
But the most
fast.
important, you're the most important one, because the rest was with a bunch of bureaucrats, except for one. And I was actually talking for an hour with a company that was trying to get an evaluation for some new devices on infantry fighting vehicles. So I still do a little bit of that as well.
I'm just going to do this because I tell you what, Captain McCormick, I'm just going to do this. Val and I have already chatted about Continue Mission, the incredible show, and Vietnam Vets of America. Let's front load this a little bit in that. Let's just go straight to you, Captain, here. As usual, take a few minutes, catch me up. You're in the action, baby. You're in the action. Take whatever is on your heart. Please do bring up VVA, because we're talking about it a lot here, and my readers and listeners love this military thing. So take a few minutes, catch me up with James. Val and I will opine shortly, but go ahead and catch me up. Give me any scoop and tell me what's going on in James's world.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for the opportunity. And it's always great to see both of you on here. As a matter of fact, I need to get you guys. Obviously, you have become our media advisors, the official media advisors. So I've got to get with you guys and see. I got to talk to you about the reporting thing, so you guys can start, getting compensated for your time, for a lack of better term.
What's that? Compensation? And Captain, you've been working for decades for no money, volunteering.
Yeah.
I have no idea what a paycheck looks like, James. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's not a big paycheck, but definitely, between you being able to be the connection between communications. Look, here's the deal: nothing that you do matters here unless you get it out on the airwaves, in the media. So here's a reality. All of you folks that are going to watch this later, or film or watch it as it's playing. Maybe some of you are watching it live. I hope that you are, because people will spend an exorbitant amount of time, watching TikTok videos of some guy picking his nose. You know what I mean? And yet, whenever we're talking about issues that are important, like our country, taking care of our veterans, like having the discussion today on the development of devices in infantry fighting vehicles that increases survivability. I'm not in the Army, you know what I mean, anymore. My son is out, you know what I mean. But it's not a personal thing for me, and I don't get paid to do this sometimes. But it's like, you've got to get engaged. You got to get engaged with what the hell's going on, because I can tell you right now, the legislators are out. Everybody is in campaign mode. Seems like they're worried about losing their jobs here. And they should be. You know what I mean? Because if voters would vote their conscience and their heart, there would be very few that would get reelected. Just being very honest with you on that. So no, I can't be political in this position. But I will tell you, like I told the candidates that brought us in and said, hey, we want to hear about veterans issues. Okay. I said, just to let you know, we cannot endorse you. We can darn sure, though, tell the media and the press when you do great things. But I guarantee you, we're going to really tell them when you do bad things. And we're going to give them your name. And we're going to give you give them your phone number so they can reach out. And don't understand this. I will not throw you under the bus when you ain't looking. I'll turn you around, kiss you right on the mouth, and set you underneath those wheels. because you've put yourself there. And because you've injured the families, or you're not doing something that needs to be done to help our veterans and this country advance and grow. So that's the kind of team that Greg Meekin and Val Olson is part of right now. There's no group of veterans out here that likes to fight any more than these Vietnam veterans, man. Do not let the gray hair fool you. They are still bad dudes, man, and they will put the hurt on you. The main thing is their intelligence and their success rates. So let's just take a look at some of the successful Vietnam veterans, the actors, the people that own FedEx, the guy that runs FedEx, Vietnam veteran, Silver Star recipient, two Purple Hearts. Rocky Bleier, my good friend, NFL pro, very active. They could just, the list goes on and on and on, to mayors, to congressmen, to business owners that have millions and millions of dollars, that are looking around saying, they're just as tired of this nonsense as we are. They really are. And they remember what it was like to have to crawl around in a rice paddy in Vietnam, and they haven't forgot where they came from. And that's the beautiful thing about this generation. The World War II guys, they consider them the greatest generation. They were of their generational time, but really the greatest generation are the ones that had to go forward and do things when many other people were going the other way. So I look at the greatest generation, I can't even say it was me. I'd like to be able to say it was my guys after 9/11. We did what we had to do, but I'm going to tell you, those guys and gals that went to Vietnam willingly, or, they didn't avoid the draft, or they didn't, run up there in Canada where you was at, Greg. You couldn't even get a parking space. There's so many of them up there. You know what I mean? When you was living in Canada.
Dude, we had draft dodge. I can't tell you how many doctors there were in Montreal, because they're all draft dodgers going to McGill University. Right? Anyhow, next. Good. A point on Rocky Bleier. The captain. If you see him, say hi. I was a huge fan of his in the 70s. He was just just an amazing guy.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh Steelers. Pat Tillman, for the folks in Arizona here.
Yeah.
Pat Tillman was a safety for the Arizona Cardinals NFL football team, and like so many of people like you, 9/11 changed his life, and he gave up a $4 million salary to the Arizona Cardinals to go fight in the Iraq War, and he ended up dying over there. Turns out it was friendly fire, but dying is dying. But there you go. There's a guy who said, again, he turned down the dough for his country.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm going to have to turn this phone off because it just rings nonstop. People are serious about getting stuff done around here. I am the executive director of government affairs for Vietnam Veterans of America. I've just went from director to executive director. And you know what? We're kicking ass and taking names up here. I always say this, and it's figuratively speaking. I'm the guy that believes in kicking in doors and throwing in hand grenades. But now if you open the door for me nicely and you let me in, we'll have a civil conversation. But if you are intentionally screwing over those that have served this country, or their families, or their Gold Star families, then, you've created an enemy. And that enemy is the organizations that come together to do this. Great meeting with, so let's just go into some of the issues that we're dealing with. We're very concerned with the Department of Defense's stance on national security. We also have looked at national service. I think it's time for a level of national service in this country. So that's me saying that. There's, definitely many that will stand with me on that. National service doesn't just mean service in the United States Army or Marine Corps. And that's not what that means. National service can mean, okay, you give up 2 years of your life for the better of your community and your country. Whether that you want to go into Peace Corps for 2 years, fine. You want to go into some sort of a Red Cross program and they'll pay you a wage, based on the same salary that a private gets in the military, and you work your way up just like they could do, fine. I think that's perfect. Working in hospitals, same thing. But you put everybody on that equal footing, and this is not about anything other than filling these critical need jobs. but more importantly, teaching the next generation about selfless service. Okay. Selfless service is critical. National security, we got issues with national security. People don't want to join the Army. They don't want to join the Air Force, the Marines. I mean, I guess they say that they still are doing okay, but I would venture to say that they suffer some shortfalls as well. People join the Marine Corps because the Marine Corps has refused to lower their standards. They're not going to do that. You know, I was never a Marine, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for the United States Marine Corps. I was a soldier. I think that there's Army units that have not lowered their standards. I can assure you that life in the 101st Airborne Division or life in the 3rd Infantry Division or the whatever unit that's out there is still kind of tough. You know, but in some areas, you know, they've lowered the standards because it's hard to get people in. And, you know, they're making us weaker. Okay. And they're making us weaker because the bright, shining stars that the people that are physically, emotionally, and mentally capable of doing this job, they don't want to join because, quite frankly, they came from a line of family members that served and they see how their dads, their granddads, and their brothers and sisters have been treated. So it's like when you don't pass legislation, like, for instance, the Richard Starr Act, which, you know, you take a guy or a gal, goes to Iraq or Afghanistan, they get wounded horrifically, they're an E3 or an E4. You know, that's a whopping $28,000 a year. They give them half of their salary and boot them out, call it a medical retirement. So you're going to go in there making about $14,000 a year, okay? You go to the VA and say, well, I'll apply for my disability compensation. And then you get it. Let's say you get 100%. That's $3,000 a month, let's give or take. So you're looking at that and you think, wow, I'm going to be able to get 34. So I'll be able to make 40-some thousand a year. That's a good retirement. That's a good, I can survive on that. But then old Uncle Sugar comes in and says, you didn't get 20 years of service, but I wanted to be in for 20 years. I wanted to stay in. That roadside bomb ended my career. That gunshot ended my career. I wanted to stay in and make lieutenant colonel. I wanted to stay in for 30 years. Okay. They say, well, you don't have 20 years of active federal service, so you cannot draw both VA compensation and your military retirement. We're going to take one. And then, oh, by the way, you can apply through the government bureaucracy and you can get a portion of that back, known as, you know, combat related special compensation or whatever they call it now. I get them mixed up. But so essentially, so now instead of getting 2 checks, I get 3 checks. I get one that's offset from the Army or the military because of my VA disability compensation. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to cut down another forest of trees and we're going to send you, and we're going to have create this whole bureaucracy that's got to manage this CRSC, and which, by the way, costs billions of dollars to do. And we're going to send you a portion of that back based on your disability that's related to combat service. So, and then they put all of that minutia and shit in there. So you're out there navigating them. Okay. Did I lose you guys?
Nope, we're here.
So they put all this minutia in there. Okay. So you're out there navigating. Let's say you're a 20-some-year-old traumatic brain injury survivor, and you're out there and you're looking, you know, what are you going to do? Are you really going to stop and apply for that? Or are you just going to give up and quit? Most of them give up and quit because they don't know how to navigate the system. Or if they go get a hold of somebody, you know, and I'm going to tell you what, if they call the Vietnam Veterans of America and they talk to a good man like Larry Green that works up the hallway from me, they're going to get some help. That guy right there is top notch and returns phone calls. That's something that not every veteran service officer does. Larry is the exception and not always the rule whenever it comes to that. Now, they all respond and they all do great things, but they need to be able to go the extra mile to be able to help them. But in most cases, they don't have a Larry Green that they can go to. What they have is they have somebody that gives them a stack of papers and say, fill this out and then send it to this address. Now, they got a traumatic brain injury, okay? So they go in and say, well, I can't really remember to do that. Oh, wow. Then you probably have a hard time paying your bills too. Well, we're going to issue you a fiduciary because you can't remember all this stuff or manage your own money. So now we're going to take away your gun rights on top of all of this other stuff that's going on. We're going to label you incompetent. You're not going to be able to hold a job or own a firearm, anything. And it's unfair to punish these people who serve their country. Very damned unfair. Because you don't do it to the police officers that go through the same crap every day. You don't do that to them. You don't tell them you can't keep a gun because you're mentally incompetent and unable to manage your finances. You don't do that to people that get to a certain age, and they're on Social Security. You don't do that. You probably should do something like that to some of these corporations, some of these people that come out of these corporations. But you don't do that to anybody else, but you do that to these veterans that went out, voluntarily served their country in a time of war, got wounded in action. Didn't scratch their ass going into the bathroom, didn't trip and fall going into the shower. They got gunshot. They got blown up. And you tell them, you got to go through a whole level of bureaucracy. But if they would have just stayed in 20 years, the guy stays in 20 years, never sees 1 minute of combat, retires and says, well, I hurt my back. And there's legitimate cases of people being injured and hurt. I don't say that. I don't believe that that we should deny that. That's the true statement. But they go in, and because they had 20 years of active federal service, guess what? They get both. So if they've been in 20 years, they had to be at least an E6. That's about $38,000, $40,000 a year. Plus they get the $38,000 to $40,000 from the VA compensation. They get them both, and they don't have to go fight for combat. It's only the people that are wounded in combat that have to go fight. Only those people.
James, excuse me. Is this an executive order fix, or is this legislation? I can't believe what I'm hearing. What are the fixes?
Legislation. It's legislation. Look, there's an act out there called the Richard Starr Act. That now all of these politicians, I forget the majority, better than 80% on both sides agree to pass it. But you can't get the House Speaker or the President of the Senate to put it up for a vote. Now we can have figured that out. That now that narrows it down to 2 people that we hold responsible. Remember that thing I told you? We'll tell the world when you do a great job, but we'll darn sure tell them when you don't. But we got the proof that shows that. Now they'll come back with, well, it doesn't actually work that way. Oh, really? Well, explain to us and the American people how that works. Who sets the schedule for what goes up on the floor for a vote? I'll be waiting here. As a matter of fact, I got me a nice little cup of coffee here. Let's see if we can get them to call in. Little. It's a little bit of, got a little hazelnut in it. It's real nice, man. It smells nice. It's a lot better than the bullshit excuse that we're going to get. Okay. That's the truth, man. That's the truth. I'm hard about this because I don't have time to mince words with these folks, because every day we lose more than 22 veterans a day just to suicide. Actually, that number is about 40 or 50.
Yeah.
On the day.
It's got to be hard for you, Captain James McCormick, being a get things done captain throughout the years, and to go into that swamp, honestly, of bureaucracy. It has got to be frustrating just trying to get point A to point B.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some good people up there. I think there's some great elected officials that really want to do the right thing, but they're hamstrung by the bureaucracy. Or they come up here and they do something stupid and somebody snaps a picture of it and they can't do what they want to do. That's why I tell these guys, don't do anything stupid. I'm not going to your drinking parties and your hangout parties. I'm not going to do that. If I go someplace like that, I take one of my staff members with me, and it's of the person of the same sex. You know what I mean? And We sit in the wide open and we don't drink. If I want to drink, I sit in the privacy of my home to drink with my wife, who is the only one that I have any interest in. You know, outside, I'm just telling you, it's just the truth. And the sad thing is that I think genuinely some of them just are in the wrong place. I don't think they were actually doing anything. I don't think that always is the case. But the other thing is that if you upset these leaders, these so-called leaders, these shadow leaders that are out there, you know, and they're the people that have the money for campaigns. Nah, I don't want you to pass that veteran stuff. You know, because we don't, what else do the veterans need? I heard a guy say that one time. What else do you guys need? Well, we need medical care. We need access. You know, we just had a 20-year war. I mean, I didn't notice you or any of your sons or any of your damn family going over there and gutting it out in the Battle of Fallujah. We did that for you. So the least you can do is take care of those that, you know, that carried the weight of this country on our shoulders. Same thing with the Vietnam guys. They don't want to talk about Agent Orange anymore. They don't want to talk about toxic exposure or the fact that we're losing, you know, thousands of these guys every day to cancers and all this other bullshit. And their kids are dying of it now. Okay. And that's a shame right there. That's a disgraceful slap in the face for America. I don't hear any of these candidates talking about this. Vice president, presidential candidates, congressmen. And it's like, if I was you and you had any family members that had any involvement in any of this, okay, they served in a war or they dealt with, you know, disabilities or whatever, you know, you really need to go look in the mirror and say, I don't think, I know everybody else is voting for this guy or that gal, but I don't think I'm going to. I don't think that I'm going to. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell the truth on it. That's the best thing you can do is tell the truth. You know?
Captain McCormick, I'm gonna switch gears quick. Every time we've had you on in the past, and this is so important, you do obviously so much official work and so much serious stuff. You're in DC and stuff, but in the past, and I like to take a few minutes here. In the past, we've had you tell cool stories from your experiences. Oh my God, 2 separate wars. The 518 boys, the zebra boys, here we go. But what I want to do, I want to make sure we always take a few minutes, just listen to a story from Captain James. Now, and what I'm going to just prompt you on, you don't have to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I'd asked you a long time ago, what about cash over there? What goes on with cash over there? I'd heard some things that there's a lot of, especially U.S. cash that's getting distributed throughout kind of theaters of war and stuff. You don't have to talk about this if you don't want.
Yeah.
But and if you don't, any other story. There was another question I asked you is, did you ever spend a birthday over there? And you have a
God, yeah, several. Yeah, I mean, three as a matter of fact, 3 birthdays away from home. First, you know, 04, 05, and 1990, you know, was birthdays that I spent.
Any memorable experiences where you say, wow, I can't believe this is my birthday?
You know, I mean, I knew it was my birthday. The second birthday that I had there was the same day that they were actually burying my grandfather back in the States, and I couldn't go home. So that was, I guess that's the big memory.
Tell us about him a little bit. Every show you mention him because you lost him young. And to this day, correct me if I'm wrong, to this day, it's a big issue to you. If you could just catch listeners up on that a little bit with your dad. That was so sad.
My dad died when he was 52. So, you know, that was before I went. But my grandfather, who was a significant part of my life, you know, he and my grandmother both died while I was deployed the last time. You know, I just felt like every time I'd wake up, you know, between the getting shot, between, you know, getting your first piece of mail you get is a divorce letter, you know, a finalized divorce letter, to, you know, you lost your house, you lost your dog, you lost your car, you lost everything that you really thought that was important, but you didn't lose your life and you didn't lose your self-respect or the respect that you had from those you served with and your kids. So every day, what made me wake up every day was the fact that I had 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter at the time, that depended on me for many things. But more so, they depended on me to be there. So every time you get one of these gut punches, your friend was killed. You know, my first 2 weeks over there, good friend of mine, killed, Seth Devon. Reality. Others were killed, you know, wounded, you know, probably 3 months there. Boom, gunshot. Boom, you go back to battle. 5 days later, you get wounded again. You know, all of these things are gut checks for you. My grandmother dies in July. My grandfather dies, you know, in January. Battles, unbelievable battles. And then on top of that, you had the internal struggles of building a unit out of scratch. I could not let any of that bother me. You know what I mean? I don't get a bad day. There's not a bad day. Oh, well, I just think I'll just I'll lay and sleep in today. There's no bad days. You have to get your ass up and go to work every day. Okay. And especially in that environment. But then, you know, there were other things that happened. You know, when my grandfather died, it was a bad day. Sure, it was. It was a bad day. There was a lot of bad days over there. And I miss him greatly. But I also remember what he taught me about never giving up, never surrender, never quit, never stop. Never stop what you're doing. Stay focused. And then you realize, would my grandfather really want me to sit around here and lose my focus and let some jackass, you know, with an AK-47 put one right between my running lights? No, he wouldn't want that. He doesn't want to see me in heaven right now. So those are the things that you think about when you're out there. Mentally challenging. You had to be hard and just, but on top of that, dealing with that, then I dealt with the jackassery that went on in some of these units, especially some of these truck units that we escorted. You know, they had horse ass around and drive all out of formation. And it's like, you got IEDs on both sides of the road. People freaking die when you do stupid. I had a friend of mine, Tom Salemi. He sent a picture. I haven't seen this damn picture in 20 years almost. And I said, why in the hell did you send me this picture? He said, it's a reminder of when people do stupid things, what happens. And it was a picture of a truck that got hit by something, okay? Because we still haven't got the whole story on that. The truck company did not want to listen to the escorts, the security, the guys that keep you alive. They just wanted to get to this base camp so that they could go buy Haji booze, you know, which is bootleg liquor. They could sit around and they could sleep in and they can sleep with each other and all this other bullshit that they wanted to do. That was their business once they got to the base camp. But when they were out on that road, they had civilian trucks that were with them, people that did not speak English. Okay. So when you're hauling ass in a 915 that goes 15, 20 miles faster than this one, guess what? These guys fall back and fall behind and you lose them. And then you got a convoy commander who is constantly arguing with the security commander. And then finally just pulls rank on the security commander and says, hey, said, you do what I tell you. He'll catch up later. Well, guess what? He never caught up. And he got popped and the truck was burnt. And I can show you a picture of the burnt, crispy bodies that were laying out there. And you know what? Not a damn soul was held accountable for that. And because they were horse assing around. So on top of all of that, so if there's any PTSD in me, it's stuff like that. Dealing with the foolishness, you know, and then it was, oh, well, Lieutenant McCormick, you know, he's just kind of crazy about these things. Yeah, because I've been shot a few times and I know what it's like. I know what the enemy's going to do just around the corner. And so do my guys. And now you know, you found out. Well, we really wish we wouldn't have done it. But you know what their only concern was? Is, am I going to get in any trouble? I'm like, if I have my way about it, your ass will be drummed out of the Army. And so then you become the biggest asshole that's ever wore shoe leather because you were infringing on their ability to go get drunk inside of a base camp and whore around with each other. We were in the middle of a war. We didn't have time for that. And 2 people died because of that. And we had to go back the next day and recover their remains and secure the site. So they didn't have to do that. The truck drivers didn't have to do that. I had to do that, and my soldiers. And that, my friend, is the reality that happens. I'm gonna write a damn book about it, and I'm going to put their names in there. Just because I wish that he would have never sent that picture, because I almost forgot about that. Almost.
Tell you what, I can't wait to read through a manuscript or two of your book, by the way. Val Olson. Val Olson is known as Miss Val, our military radio gal. You've wonderfully facilitated this, and I bet you have about 500 questions in your mind, but take a minute. Do you have a question for Captain McCormick on anything we've talked about up to this point? But, what's in your heart a little bit while we still have him here? Any questions, Val?
Yeah, if he could just touch on the manuscript, because I think it's really important. You touched on accountability, and what would the manuscript look like? Would you take the reader through step by step of where there were preventable methods that could have happened versus just allowing this to happen? Is there going to be solutions in your book? Is it going to be raw and real? Are you going to let
yeah, it's raw and real. I wrote a whole section about the children of Iraq, and when I wrote that chapter, I couldn't function for almost a day and a half after that. Just because of the cruelty that was done to these kids over there. And I talked to a lot of Vietnam vets, and they seen the same thing. Everybody talks about, they say all these Vietnam vets, shooting these kids and shit. Well, that didn't happen. Not to the greatest degree that people think. Okay, that didn't happen. Most of the time they were trying to make friends with these kids. And I think it's every now and then you'll find some people that want to tell a story, a lie, aka a lie. And those things didn't happen. Most Americans, not all, but most Americans wanted to make friends with these kids because we saw our children in them. And then we realized just how lucky we were to have it, how lucky our kids were to have it. So the children of Iraq is going to be, and I've still got some work to do on it. I was writing some stuff the other day about some guys that had seen some UFOs over there. I mean, it was a pretty intense story, but I mean, look, they believe it. So I don't deny. You know what I mean? I believe what they said they saw. But some people laugh, like I almost get a laugh about it, but it's not because I didn't believe them, but it's because of how much effort we put into doing a 15-6 investigation on a UFO sighting over there. I mean, so there were some things that happened over there that wasn't all tragedy. I mean, there were some things that was like pretty good stuff, that happened. But listen, anytime, unless I'm writing a book on fiction, anytime you write a book, it needs to be a lessons learned. Okay, there's lessons that I learned about myself. There were things that I did wrong. Okay, and the difference between a person with a level of integrity and those that lack integrity is the ability to admit when you did something wrong. There was nothing wrong with holding soldiers accountable. There's nothing wrong with having a set of standards. Now, some will argue with me. They don't want to, and they'll argue with me, and they'll argue with other veterans that were in the 518th. You guys were all crazy, all this stuff. And really, I've come out to realize, no, it's because you're jealous of these guys. Some people carry the biggest burden they carry is the shame for not living up to being the soldier that they envision themselves to be. So let's think about that. You grow up in a time, you join the Army, you want to be able to win medals and become a hero and all these things. And no matter what anybody says, in the back of their childlike mind back there, they all have that vision of grandeur. Nobody goes out to play football just to be the guy that sits on the bench and never gets to play, okay? They play football because they want to be the rock star, that goes out, scores the touchdowns or tackles the quarterback. In my case, I was a nose guard, defensive nose guard. And when that doesn't happen, they replace it with stories, or they blame somebody else for their shortcomings in there. I had a commander, he was an asshole, or I had this person, that did this. And then some of them joined the military to do certain jobs. Like I have a kid that grew up with my sons, and he wanted to be a cook in the Army, and that was it. He wanted to be a cook. He's very proud of that. And I'm like, yes, finally, somebody's not going to lie about their service, and they're going to come in. I want to hear what you did as a cook on a day-to-day basis, because it's damned important to feed our troops. Okay. And these jackasses out there that make fun of these guys and gals because they do jobs like cooks, mechanics, and clerks, and all these other things that you need to have. Well, they've created this stolen valor atmosphere because, it's all about the warrior. Look, let me tell you something. I couldn't have rolled 1 foot. I can tell you about a guy named Robert Matta. He was the best mechanic I ever had served with me in the United States Army. He could fix shit on the fly, man. I mean, we had vehicles that were shot up, blown up. I don't know, he would take bubble gum and duct tape, man, and he could fix it. Not even kidding. And get us rolling. Why is his story not important? It's very important. Now he was a warrior too, because he had to fight his way in and fight his way out. And he was just that way. But why is that story not important? I think that's just as important. That's why we always talked about doing a television show that goes into the different jobs in the military. What do you do in the military? Well, I'm a cook, or I'm a clerk, or I'm a parts and labor specialist. This is what I do every day. And I think the Army would benefit, and the Navy and the Marine Corps and the Air Force and the Space Force and the Coast Guard would benefit greatly if they would support a show like that, to where we go in and we talk to each individual person about what they do. Here's the reality of a day-to-day in the life of a Coast Guard machinist mate. And then people get to see it and they say, wow, I didn't even know. So they work with all these tools and stuff. That's a skill. That's something that I could do after I get out. Then they'll go down and they'll join. You know what I mean? You know what they see now? All this stuff. It's like, come on, man. 1 out of 10 do that. And in reality now, it's more like 1 out of 1,000. Because most of the stuff that the grunts used to do, well, we can do it with drones, and we can do it with the Air Force, and we can do it with long-reaching rockets and artillery. Because we would go in and be like, oh, shit, everything's in here dead, God dog. Well, good job, Air Force. Thank you for that, And nobody wants to admit that there's more that goes on than that. And it's the same thing with nobody wants to admit that we do have problems in some of these units, that people are more interested in getting high, getting drunk, failing to adhere to the standards, and then there being no real repercussions because your first sergeant or your commander of that unit is sleeping with one of the enlisted soldiers. Don't tell on me or I'll tell on you. And that's the thing that happens. And look, we got to talk about these things because it's destroying the morale of these units. It really is. And shit needs to be fixed now. Or I ain't letting my kids go. I'm not going to let my kids, any more of my kids go. I'll tell you
that. Captain, you mentioned the Air Force.
Yeah.
I remember the memorable scene from Full Metal Jacket with Robert Duvall calling in an airstrike. Did you actually, just a side question from Greg here, were you guys under the gun at one point, at any point, and call in the Air Force and actually watch them take care of business? Were you in the middle of stuff like that?
Yeah. And so let me just tell you how that works. Here's the reality of that. The reality of that is that we had a forward air controller that was attached to the Tactical Operations Center in the unit. If you were the scout or the infantry unit that was out front and you could identify targets, then I would get on a radio. See, here's what the part they don't tell you, because they want you to think they're talking to that pilot. Now, I'm not talking to the pilot. I'm talking to that guy at the TOC that's about 9 miles back who's talking to the pilot because he's got a special radio, okay? Now, that Air Force guy is not up there in front with me either. Sometimes they are. The forward air controller, sometimes they are. Most of the time, they're not. They're listening to me saying, I need you we've got 2 tanks in the open, T-72s, moving in a southerly direction between grid zone, Alpha Bravo, 9675, 8476, and then you give them that information and then they spit it out to the pilots. Now, what I got to see is I got to hear, fast movers on the way. That meant that they were either A-10s or they were jets or they were F-15s or, whatever. Most time in the first Gulf War, it was A-10s. The second Gulf War, it was helicopters. I got slow movers coming in. Okay, good. I got helicopters coming in. But hell, they were moving fast too. And they'd bring in a couple of Apaches. And so when they'd get over you, then you could talk on the radio to somebody on the sheriff freak who was, inside of that chopper that could say, anything else out here. No, looks like you wiped them all out. Good job. Put a fork in them. They're done. And that's how that really went. But yes, I got to see what it was like for A-10s, 2 of them. They always traveled in pairs. They looked like little bats up there flying around. And they would come in and they sounded like the Star Wars TIE fighters, man. And they'd be like, zzz, and then you would hear, burp. Well, I would see stuff exploding on the ground before I'd hear the, you know what I mean? And there were times that literally when they shot all of those shells fall out. There was one time that they fired that I actually remember seeing some of those shells hitting the ground in front of us. So that happened. That's the reality. The helicopters, same thing. I think they fired, I'd have to look and see. I think it was 30 millimeter. Anyways, it was fast. Then they'd do the same thing, or they'd shoot Hellfire missiles, And then I seen a drone take out a target one time that I had no control over whatsoever. The drone just happened to be up there and it saw something that I didn't see. And it went up and it came down and it fired something. And we never, we saw the flash on the ground and Charlie Mike, man, continue mission. That's what continue mission means. Continue mission.
Absolutely. Very, very quick here. Calling in the airstrikes. And I just want to ask if you have heard of this before. I had a dear friend. I had a lot of Vietnam vets because of my age and a lot of Vietnam vets. And I talk these stories a lot with these guys. This guy, he was E9. E9 over in Nam. I think he was a 3-tour guy. But he had said he was in the engineers, so he was always way forward, the CBs guys, whatever. And he said every night that they built a camp, they would build it in a triangle. Mm-hmm. Have you heard this? Anyhow, and he said one night they got they got saved by Jesus one night by their planes, because if they were literally camped in a triangle, and then here we go, up jump hundreds of VC ready to invade. They were completely overrun. They called in the jets, and I didn't realize at this point it was in a triangle. They do their camps in a triangle. And he said this one jet, I think 2 guys came down to save them, two jets. So they would come in and they would strafe one side of the that triangle, and it was triangles, and then they would do a quick loop. And then strafe the other side of the triangle, and then another loop. So you're talking in 30 seconds, they could wipe out that camp. And they did. Guy says,
yeah, they kill a lot of people real quick. I mean, they do. I mean, it's not a safe place to be on, that. And the more you do that, and the more you show that, the more that sends a message to your potential enemies that you might want to settle down and just try to appreciate living in your country and dealing with your own nonsense. Because when you take it outside of these borders, that's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to you, your kid. I mean, look at Russia right now. I mean, they're losing almost 1,000 people a day. Now, I can't understand for the life of me how in the hell the Russian people are putting up with that. Could you imagine if we lost 1,000 soldiers a day? Well, we haven't had days like that since probably the Tet Offensive or World War II even. I mean, the hitting the beaches in Normandy. But the reality is that you have to You have to project warfare. You know what I mean? You have to project it in a way that let people know this is what's going to happen to you. Now, we would rather live in peace. We can do a trench fight, or we can do a deal. Now, we come to a deal, a negotiation, but that deal will never include you being able to round up people and shoot them and throw them in a hole. That'll never include that. And we as a country should never tolerate that shit anywhere else. It is our business. Humanity is our business. And I hear these people say, well, let's stay here. Let's don't get in their business. You know, that's the same thing that they said about the Nazis, you know, when they was putting people in concentration camps. Let's just don't get involved. No. Let's get involved, and let's tear the bone out of their ass so that they can never do it again. And right now, you know, we have that isolationist mentality that has created a very unstable world, you know, and it is unstable. So I hate war, Greg, Val. I hate it. Hated every damn minute of it. You know, I'm not a war profiteer. I do not have an investment in Raytheon or any of these other companies out there, and I never will, because I don't believe. I'm a peacemaker, man. I want to make peace. But I can go to war if you need me to go to war. You can flip that switch on me. And the difference between me and some of these other guys is I'm not going to talk about the shit. We're just going to do it, get it done. But I would prefer to have peace. But if we don't get involved in these other affairs, and I don't mean going around, you know, because involved in elections or anything like that. But when they start murdering and they start committing genocide, we better darn sure get involved and put an end to it.
Captain, this is a big, broad question, but just right between the eyes. What do we have to do now, right now? It's a grease fire out there in the world. What do we have to do now? What do our leaders have to do now? And what can community folks in the community do to assist?
Well, the first thing that our country needs to do is take care of our veterans and their families. Okay, we have to take care of our own. We have a homeless crisis in America. We have a suicide crisis in America. We have an identity crisis in America that's created by people who are afraid to tell people the truth. So if Greg Meek and Val Olson and James McCormick get together and we get ready to go out to have dinner or something, right? And you look at me and you say, how do I look? And I look up and I see this great big booger hanging out Greg's nose, okay? Now, I'm going to say, Greg, you got a booger hanging out your nose. Now, I might not be loud about it, okay? But we got an identity crisis where you got people say, I'm not going to tell them what they are, okay? So I don't want to get into this talk about the he's and the she's and all this other stuff going on. But we have an identity crisis where people are given this image that they really can do and say anything they want to do, and there's no ramifications for your actions. You see, when I grew up, and I see how people talk to law enforcement officers right now, and it's terrible. It's disgraceful, okay? But I was told is that, I'll tell you, I had a run-in with a railroad policeman one time, okay? And they were tough cops with C&O Railroad. And some guys, some kids with BB guns had shot the crap out of this caboose, you know, just shot the damn windows out of it and stuff. Well, it wasn't me, but I was a kid that was on a bicycle barefoot, you know, through Scott Depot, West Virginia, riding down the road. This police officer in a brown uniform had C&O Railroad on it. He stopped me. He said, I want to ask you a question. I said, okay, sir, I'll be happy to answer your question. I didn't say, F you, I don't owe you nothing, all that other stuff that you see going on now. Because, number one, he says, I want to ask you a question. He wasn't rude. He wasn't nasty. Okay. But he said, do you own a BB gun? Yes, sir, I do. Did you shoot the caboose? I said, no, sir, I did not. He said, well, how do I believe you? I said, do you know when it happened? You know what I mean? Or about what time that it happened? It just so happened. I had an alibi. I said, can anybody vouch for it? I said, well, my grandmother, my grandfather, you know, they're over there. So he said, can you take me to them? Went over there, went over to them. Now there's kids all over the neighborhood. Okay. He's asking everybody the same question. My grandfather happened to be home, okay? And he says, okay. He said, your grandson, says he owns a BB gun. Yep, he does. Owns a BB gun. We own guns here. And he takes it out, shoots it in the backyard. He said, well, we had an incident out here where some kids shot out the windows on this caboose. My grandfather, I didn't even say nothing. He grabbed me by the arm. He said, did you take that out? Did you do that? Do you have anything to do with that? And the guy looked and says, no, we're not blaming him for it. We're just asking, because it happened like on a Saturday. And he looked at me and says, don't you lie to me. And then the police officer or that railroad detective looked at me and says, there ain't no way that kid would have shot this out because this parent will whoop his ass for that. Okay.
Exactly.
And it just so happened we were visiting with his mother that day, that whole day in question until late at night. And he come down and he was like, and I said, can I go ride my bicycle again? It wasn't like, I didn't hold this grudge against my grandfather for grabbing my arm and asking me that question. He's like, okay, you can go back out playing. It was all right. She went out. It's like, no, I did not do that. And no, that I did not disrespect the police officer. And no, did my parents not disrespect the police officer who was trying to do an investigation, asking you a question. It's my First Amendment rights. I can say F you and flip you off and all this other stuff. Come on, man. That's childish. Number one, that's not even civility. And that's that's another problem with America right now. They've forgotten how to be civil. Let me tell you, I seen a guy one time that flipped somebody off and a guy reached up and broke his damn fingers. Okay. So he went around like this with the bandage on his finger, splinted up like this all the time, for a long time till his finger healed. He said, what happened? Well, I gave him the middle finger and he broke my finger. Well, you shouldn't have gave him the middle finger. Okay. And the thing is there's no punishment. There's not enough responses to stupidity because everybody's afraid of getting sued. Everybody's afraid of, not being politically correct. I'm glad I'm in this organization because they're not politically correct. They just want to get stuff done. So,
James, I'm just so again, great appearance today. This is always a blast. I want to, before we close out your segment here, because we got just an amazing guy coming on the next guest. Have you heard the name Andre Fournier from me before? Probably not. He invented caller ID. He hates when I say invented caller ID.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Oh,
man.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. You wait till you hear the stories from this guy. Anyhow, take a few minutes though. Take a few minutes. Tell me about VBA.
Yeah.
What you're doing and specific, what you're doing right now, and any call to action as far as what folks can do to become part of your organization.
Yeah, sure thing. Anybody can become part of the Associates of the Vietnam Veterans of America. It's called the Associates of Vietnam Veterans of America, and it's avva.org. So you don't even have to be a veteran. You have to be an American. You have to love and want to, support veterans. But lifetime membership, $100, $100 for the rest of your life. You never have to pay anything else. And they do things that support not just the Vietnam Veterans of America, but all veterans. So one thing that we're working on right now is we're working on building a coalition of veterans organizations that are willing to work together for the greater good of all veterans. You get in there and you see all this arguing back and forth. Our group's the best group. Whatever. We don't care. It's like, obviously your group's not doing enough because we still got people killing themselves, still got people living on the street. You still got shitty service in some places for veterans. And we still have a lot of work to do legislatively. We still don't have the best veterans care in the world. We don't. And we should. Now we have the best military force in the world as far as equipped, I think manpower wise, we need to work on that because nobody wants to go in and standards have been lowered or whatever. But we do have a very good, well-functioning military as far as services go. But once they get out, they don't have those same kind of services. So we need to take care of it. So we need to really evaluate the full cost of warfare. What is the full cost of warfare? Well, we still have World War II veterans, right? That we've got to take care of right now. Well, that war's been over a hell of a long time. Okay. The DOD washed their hands of that back in 1945 and 1946 when they were getting discharged. But the Veterans Administration has been carrying the ball since then to take care of them and their family and their benefits. So, you're looking at 80 plus years, you know what I mean, of service and taking care of these folks. Same thing with the Vietnam, Korean War. It'll be the same thing with Persian Gulf War. So we have to do a better job at that. So at the Vietnam vet, and I want to read some of this stuff off. We have way too many budget shortfalls when it comes to veterans, but we always seem to have enough money for one more Tomahawk missile, which is about $1.8 million, by the way. So you've never spent $1.8 million on all my medical care. And I've been shot more than once. Okay. So obviously, I still don't have the value of a Tomahawk missile, according to the finance. And that's the thing that really upsets some veterans. Because when you look at taking care of us, there's always a price tag, and it's always a problem. It's always an issue. But if I went in and I developed a new bomb that was this big, right, that I could launch it with a pencil, okay, and I could hit a target anywhere in the world the size of a cell phone, okay, billions of dollars. The sky's the limit, whatever you need. But I take a young man or a young woman who's been severely handicapped from their service. We're going to try to do everything we can for you, but there's a limit. And that's the problem. And that's a real problem with our veterans benefits. There's a full cost of war, folks. There's healthcare shortages. It's not just in the VA, but it's everywhere. We have rural veterans that live in the middle of and urban veterans that cannot get to. I'm talking about services. I'm talking about people with prosthetics that need to go in and get a cream because they get all of these sores and things where that prosthetic is. How shameful is that? But we can't provide that in a timely manner. Or how about dental care for the guys that get their damn teeth knocked out and everything else? Well, some of them can. But we all know that health care and dental care, and because some of these service members, it's not because they're nasty and they don't know how to take care of their teeth. If you go look at the life of a soldier and the things we put in our mouth and the day-to-day events that you deal with, we go all the way back to the soldiers that used to tear the cartridges open with their teeth. How many of them lost their damn teeth doing that and got gunpowder in there, ruined their teeth? Okay, same thing happens with these folks, and there's a direct connection to poor oral health and overall, physical and mental health. Because people, if your teeth aren't right, then probably you got an infection and the whole rest of your body could be wrong. So I think dental care should be a guarantee, for these folks. We have to come up with a suicide prevention. Not just a telephone number. That's great. 988, call 988, folks. If you got any problems, you're feeling suicidal, call 988. Trust me, they will help you. But we have to figure out, get to the heart of the matter. What's causing this? And again, some of it is PTSD, but a lot of it is a total frustration and not being able to get access to services. Or like I told you about the Richard Starr Act, the guys that they get their disability offset or their retirement offset because they didn't get 20 years active service. It's like, oh, by the way, that's still a painful part for me sometimes that I didn't get to stay in the Army. They forced me out. I'd like to have stayed in for 30 years. But you've exasperated that pain by now telling me that, well, your service, even though you had 20 years total, you only had 16 and a half years full active duty because I had a reserve time that I was in as well. Okay. So that service don't count in their eyes. It does not count. So I think that we need to do a better job at that. I know. We need to be able to get some funding experts to work for the VA, people that know how to manage money, because that's a big problem. I just was in a hearing, and political appointees are not always the sharpest tools in the shed. Okay. Now, I'm not just hammering on these guys, but if I was put into a position, I don't care how much money you pay me, if I came into this position and they said, you know what, we're never going to fire you, but you know you're not effective. You know you can't do your job, and you know the people you got under you are equally incompetent. Okay, well, that's not happening here because they'll fire you here if you don't do your job. This is the mainstream America. But in the VA, you can choose not to show up to work, whatever you want to do, man. I mean, look, they just had an investigation. One guy had sex with like 30 different women on a VA compound. Did you see that? That happened. He lost his job. Then you talk to the good politicians are up there saying, that's good. I'm glad that he lost his job. But now I want to talk to these 30-some women that were also having sex on the clock, because it wasn't sexual assault. It was willful conduct. Just like, whoa, hold on. No whoa to it. Takes two to tango. But you got to hold everybody accountable when they do the wrong thing. And when they do the right thing, do good things for them. The other thing that we've really got to do this. We got to build unity. We got to build unity across generations. We got to have more of a commitment towards some of these toxic exposure issues that we have. Every damn war since 1917, there has been a toxic exposure issue. Atomic, guys and gals dying of their teeth are falling out, their hair is falling out. Nobody wants to take care of them, and they died. They died at a young age. Or they had kids that were mentally deformed because they were not informed about the hazards that you could pass on to. Why would you not want to give that veteran the option to whether maybe I decide I don't want to have kids because I'm afraid they're going to be born with all these, issues. Now we can have this whole conversation, but it's not right. It's not right, and it's not fair to those kids, and it's not right, and it's not fair to those veterans to not at least inform them. And, oh, by the way, when they do have kids, take them in and check them out and do some research and figure out if maybe they're going to have kids that are going to have issues. Because some of this Agent Orange stuff, we're in D.C., you can hear the alarms, right? Some of this Agent Orange stuff, they say could go for 7 to 10 generations, folks. No studies. Why? Why are there no studies on the kids? Are they afraid that they're going to find out the truth? Probably so. Legacy of care. We want to have more robust health care. That includes health care for our women. Our women veterans are woefully underserviced. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak on behalf of a woman. But I can tell you this, that there's a whole lot more men out there that have access to care for our prostates and our men's private parts than there are women being taken care of at the VA healthcare system. That's a hard way to say, but that's just the reality of it. And we're not doing a very good job of that. We also need to look at multi-generations. So when you have a congressional hearing on the Hill, everybody up there is 40 and under, and they work for one or two veterans organizations, and they're going to tell them what they want to hear. What about the 65 and older crowd that we have here? Okay, because there's a lot more of them than you realize that went to Vietnam. I mean, you see, I've got in behind me there. So that's my dedication to the nurses. Because let me tell you something. My ass wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for the medical professionals and the nurses and the healthcare professionals that served in the military. And I don't think that they get enough service and enough credit, especially these women. I don't. Now, military sexual trauma. Why are we not putting commanders in prison for this shit? You know, not just kick them out or remove them from command. You're going to jail for that, period. Access to health care. We need to have top-notch, world-class health care. And for mental health care, we need to have more access to non-traditional, the use of agriculture therapy, fitness. You know, there's so many more of us that would benefit and have better, long-lasting lives, you know, without all the medical conditions when you get older. If we just had a personal trainer and a nutrition specialist to sit down and talk to us on a weekly basis and say, well, let me send you, you know, a suggested menu for you to eat and how many times you should be exercising. And at your age, this is what you should be doing. And you can call me for advice. No, they say, well, sign up for this app or that app. And then hell, you got to pay for it. You know, well, they're not going to do that. You know, we need to have better. And then guess what? You don't spend as much on healthcare because they're healthier people and they live longer lives. We need to have more of a focus on descendants and dependents. And I'm going to really drive this one home because I went to it's terrible. I went to a Vietnam veterans event. And you would not believe the number of those Vietnam veterans who had kids with severe disabilities. And they walked around now for the last 50 years blaming themselves for that. And they're taking care of kids that are severely, physically, and mentally challenged. You know what their biggest concern is? God, please do something. Come up to me, please do something so when I die, somebody takes care of my kid. That's heartbreaking, folks. And for our Congress and our Senate to not get off their ass and do something about that, that's a crime. It's a crime against humanity. We need to do better. And you know what? My language is hard. I don't have time to be pussyfooting around with this thing. And it might not be politically correct. I don't handle things like other people do. I believe in getting things done. But let me tell you something. Every day I come in here, I feel the pain and suffering of a lot of people. And it's the hardest part of my job is going around knowing that if I don't say something and shake things up, that there's going to be a whole lot more pain and suffering. And the same thing's happening with the Gulf War vets, the Iraq and Afghanistan vets, the future generations. Because, oh, by the way, we're now asking the Department of Defense, what's your water filtration system like? Have you changed it in the last 40 years? Or are you still giving these guys bad water? You know, I don't know. I don't want to accuse you of anything, but the fact that you don't respond to our letters and our tender request, do we have to do a FOIA? I guess we have to do a FOIA to get anything. There's no more just, hey, can we talk about this? Can we have a meeting about this? It doesn't exist. Call your attorney, or here's my legal department, you know, or something. I mean, that's just dumb. Why not fix it so that in 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when we're gone, however long it's going to take, you know, for us to pass on, that my kids and your grandkids and everybody else, they can go in and they can serve with a level of commitment from their country that says, I'm going to take care of you. And oh, by the way, we're going to do our darndest to keep you from getting killed, poisoned, or, you know, mentally so screwed up in the head because of bad leadership, bad decisions, you know, or poor access to mental and physical health care. And I promise you, we will not only have a better military, you will have a better citizenry. That's what we have to do. Now, that's a lot. I'm sorry. I don't mean to, but I'm tired of seeing people suffer I'm really tired of seeing it. I'm so tired of seeing mean ass people in positions that make decisions. And I've had people come in my office and break down and cry over some of these things that are said to them. In leadership positions, I do not like it. I do not appreciate it. And I do not believe that's why I served my country in 2 wars, to come back and to just watch another enemy mistreat, and a worse enemy, by the way, because this is an enemy you can't fight against hardly, other than just vote their asses out or, complain enough till you finally get the sunshine shot on them. They're like vampires, man. When you throw a little sunshine, it's like,
Captain James McCormick, our resident 3-time Purple Heart Award recipient, executive director of the Vietnam Vets of America. I can listen to you for hours, as you know. What I love about having you on, either way, what I love about having you on is you're continuing your mission. You are working daily to try to do something. There's so much more to chat about. This was so good today. We will definitely see you on next obviously continue mission episode. But I've got Andre Fournier in the wings here. He's, believe it or not, James, he's checking in today from Barcelona, Spain.
from where?
He's called all over the world because he's don't tell
Where's
anyone.
Where's he at?
Well,
Barcelona, Spain.
Barcelona.
Now everybody's in the help here. Salut, Andre.
Yeah.
Andre Fournier. This is Captain James McCormick. Look at you.
Hello, Andre. Nice.
Hello, James. Captain James, how you doing?
You can just call me James. I mean, it's just it's
Well,
the name my mother gave me.
yes, but we've given you the name Captain. That's the important part too.
And I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? I'm the kind of captain that you want. I don't kick people off the ship, unless they're really messing up bad.
Andre, you had a comment. You had a comment by text, maybe perhaps suggestion to Cap McCormick. What was that? The comment you made on the $4 billion or something?
I made the comment that rather than spending $4 billion for the Angel City, they should try to use it for solving some of our veteran issues. Yeah, there's no such thing as balance. You're illegally here. You need to take care of the people that you take care of this country.
No, I agree with you so much. I mean, you're right. It's a sad situation. It really is, and I told the guy when I was a second lieutenant, that's the lowest rank as a officer, second lieutenant. I told a group of people this, politicians this, I said, when I was a second lieutenant, I could call and get fire support from everything up to a $1.8 million Tomahawk missile if I had the right target for you to hit. And it could be one person that I needed you to kill with $1.8 million. And we could get that thing launched from 100 miles off, flying through the streets and all that stuff. And boom. Do you think I can get 1.5? I can't call for 1.5, $1,100,000, $100 worth of care for some of these veterans. And it's like, you're right. There's no balance. We got to have a strong national defense. We all get that, but there's other places. I mean, there's got to be some balance here. And it just, there's places to cut money that money is spent that don't need to be spent.
Yep. I agree. I agree with you 100%.
So I'm just going to say this to you. If I disappear, you know what I mean, or end up in a river someplace.
Yeah. we know where to find you.
Do an investigation. Yeah, please. And all about it.
It's so funny. Can you imagine we're even talking about that? That's the old mobsters day, but it's true. So many people have turned up, disappeared. Imagine that. So
look, man, I went into the Spy Museum 1968. The guy took an umbrella that shot a little BB full of poison into a guy, and he just felt like he had a little sting, and then he died a few weeks later, Yep. If they could do that in 1968, imagine what they can do right now.
You don't even have to leave your home.
No, you just put a little something there in the front of your truck. You turn on your air conditioner, poof. You know,
Yep.
and then you die in a car wreck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, man, these people are crazy.
Well, I can tell you, you're not far off because a lot of the automated cars today, if they don't have the high security, the encryption, I can sit right here and call your car and say, guess what? You're going to make a left turn. Wrong turn, but left turn anyway.
Yes. And go off a bridge or into a river. Or,
Yep.
exactly. He's right. I'm telling you, man. Andre, you're right on the money.
Yeah.
Wait till you hear Andre Fournier, Captain. We got the best of the best here, man. Only the top. Captain James McCormick,
Here's what I'm
Andre
going to do.
Fournier.
I'm going to watch this later because I got to jump off and jump on another call. But I promise you, I know you're going to get me a copy of this. All right.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Make sure you spell my name right. MCC.
We're going to talk about you behind your back when you leave.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Captain, I can't. I'll let Val actually close out the segment with you. Okay. I wish you truly the best. We keep in touch every day. You're in the swamp, dude. You're in DC. Okay. I'm worried about your health.
Thank you so much. That's Captain James McCormick. And don't forget, every Friday night, continue mission. And to all soldiers, your mission is never finished. And so James shared so many inspiring ideas. We talked about solutions today. And James, thanks so much. We'll let you return to work in DC. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Leave no veteran behind.
That's right.
Bye-bye, folks.
God love you, James. See you later. Wow. Andre, welcome to Secrets from the Inside. You've done this rodeo before, but how about Captain McCormick, dude? I can listen to him for hours. It's not even the tip of the iceberg today. What he has gone through. Imagine 3-time Purple Heart, been 2 separate wars. He was shot 3 times. But he's working out. I haven't really caught you up on James, but James knows presidents. I mean, the presidents. Trump has asked him to drop by for photo ops. He has, as George W. Bush personally. James is very, very sought out by these leaders. I won't say anything, but he refused a photo op with President Biden. But I won't share that. Oh yeah. Because when you get it to be a guy like James, everyone wants a photo. They're calling him, much like a lot of people call you, Andre.
Yeah, but for the different reason, for a real task. They call me to see if I can pay my bills.
Val, introduce the show. Seats from the Inside, and I'll touch real brief on who Andre is and stuff, and let's rock and roll and have a nice chat.
Well, Andre, it's wonderful to have you back. This is Secrets from the Inside Radio Network, and the floor is yours. I don't want to waste a lot of time trying to introduce you when your CV goes on and on and on, other than to say you are someone who's highly connected in the digital world. Greg has told me stories from your days back at the ice arena together, all the way to when we have a problem, an IT problem, and I'm saying, Greg, can you get Elon on the phone? He phones you. So I'm just going to leave it there and just share with our audience who you are and what we need to know. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice hat there, Greg. I always wanted to get that hat of yours.
You had a hat on too, Andre, for a minute, and you took it off. Would you tell us a little bit about that hat? It's beautiful.
Thank
and
you.
very meaningful.
Yes, it is. It's actually part of my heritage, being part Native and Canadian Native. In Canada, we call ourselves Métis because we're half Native and half white. So I carry it very, very proudly. It's a really nice hat. My daughter bought it for me, so it also covers my lack of hair. But yeah, no,
Welcome to that club. Welcome to that club, Andre.
Yeah, I worked hard for this.
I have a little secret for you. We used to start with secrets at the beginning of show, whatever. I won't change that tradition, but I'll give you a little bit of a secret because it'll surprise you. A lot of our listeners and radio folks don't know that Andre and I are from the same city. We're from Montreal. We're also from the 60s and 70s Montreal. That's a whole show. Okay.
Yeah.
But Andre and Andre was so involved with my ice arena at the time. Here's a little secret. He was going to be the youth hockey director in Bremerton for my rink, but he got called out elsewhere in the world at that time. But the hat is a Jean Beliveau hat. Only a person like Andre appreciates that. And Jean Beliveau, of course. Here's my secret. You know who I talked to this morning on the phone, Andre? J'ai parlé à Elise Beliveau
La
ce
femme
matin,
de
this morning.
Madame Beliveau.
Oui, Madame
Yes.
Beliveau, la grande dame du hockey, the
Yep.
grand lady of hockey. So I want to
Absolutely.
thank forever Andre keeping that close connection with me because we're hockey guys, and there's not one time that goes by that I don't trash him as far as being a poor hockey player. He was a goaltender. If we were still playing right now, I would score and score and score and score on you. I think you're a few years older too, so I won't hold that against you. But either way, salut André, bienvenue. Okay,
Merci
bienvenue.
beaucoup.
And
Yep.
if you would just talk, okay, let me know.
Yeah.
Seriously, we know how these go. These are amazing. Tell me about what you're doing these days. What the heck are you doing in Spain? And also, I'm going to want to touch base with. There's so much talk about the EV world and Elon and Tesla and stuff. I want to talk a little bit about cars. Okay,
Sure.
we talked about flying cars last time.
Oh, yeah.
And want to also find out kind of your take on this year, 2024, 2025, all the craziness that's going on, especially technologically. So I turn the mic over to you. And just introduce everybody with who you are and tell us what's going on, man.
Well, it's a lot of things have been happening with my life, and we've been working with a company that's doing some new antennas for 5G. I'm currently in Spain right now. I don't know if you can see it, but this is my hotel window. This is in Barcelona, and concentrating on doing some development on 5G technology. Um, and you know the technology is not just for communication for cellular and computers, but it also 5G is also including automation for cars, being able to use the 5G network with automobiles to manage traffic and other type of indicators, such as if there's an accident or if there's a curve that's quite fast. So there's a lot of other type of information that's marrying both the what I call the personal communication and the automotive communication. So it's quite interesting to see that. Um, the other part is basically trying to facilitate some fundings for a special project that I'm having. It's specifically for young children that are autistic. Sorry. Um, they in schools, it's very difficult for them to get any type of unique or special education. They're amongst, a lot of the schools are more in the generic type of education where they tend to concentrate on the kids that can keep up with the education. And a lot of the autistic children require special time. Their time, what I call their attention span is fairly short. So it's not always easy to provide them a way to be successful in school. So it's a program that I'm trying to see if I can get some interest in some of the schools to provide some better educational tools. So
Wow, I love that, Andre. I mean, there are so many children that are diagnosed with autism and they learn these are brilliant, loving, wonderful children. And so just to know that those tools are in the making is wonderful. Anything you can tell us about that? Because I know there's so many families that are impacted and just searching for hope.
yeah, I think that the biggest challenge with and there's different levels of autism, and there's different it's the word autism is not always representative of a common set of educational or behavior, there's different levels of them, and there's different ways of dealing with them. I find a lot of them a lot of the young people that, especially the young children, always have problem with communication, expressing themselves, understanding what's expected of them, and with the lack of attention span tends to create problems with them at school. So it's how do you get a little bit of the technology to help them deal with their communication and also their attention span. I think that a little bit of artificial intelligence would be very useful, especially a lot of them with the writing. Um, but you don't want to overcompensate so that they don't completely depend on that type of service. So it's a really, really difficult balance to get into, and it has to be personalized. It can't be just generic, and that's the biggest problem with trying to create something, is that we tend to develop things more in a generic way rather than a very adaptive way of environment. So it's not always easy to do that. So it's taken time, and I'm because I'm busy with other stuff. It's also taken a little bit longer than I would want, but I want to really make sure before I do any type of real presentation on it, and interest is that I have my facts on the table. And one of the things that's always challenging is trying to find more and more information about what is autism, how do we deal with it, what are the type of things that you need to look for to be successful. There are some people that are autistic. I know a couple of them are lawyers. One of them is a doctor. So it doesn't mean that they can't maybe be successful in their life, but how do they get to that stages? How do we get from being a child to being a successful person? And to me, successful does not mean you have to be a millionaire. It just means that you have to be productive and enjoying what you're doing.
Andre, it's interesting because we had a previous show with Cap McCormick
Mhm.
last year, and Cap McCormick is a drone pilot. He's a drone pilot trainer.
So am I.
And are you?
Yes, I am
Oh,
a registered. I am
you
a
have
registered drone driver.
you have so many secrets from the inside, Andre. You have so many secrets. But Cap McCormick told a story of autistic drone pilot who he
Mhm.
trained. He says she was the best in the United States.
Yep.
I mean, the best. So we'll revisit a little bit of that sometime. What great stories. Very quick for a lot of the folks. I don't want to change gears, but for a lot of folks
Mhm.
here that don't know you, most of them don't know me either, Andre. So, or they're trying to
Mhm.
forget me. Okay, so, but I'm going to take just a quick little reverse here to let people know who you are. I'll give you kind of my take on you. I've known you for, geez, over 20 years, way too long,
Yep.
right? But
Yep.
I first met you in the Seattle area, and really quickly, you don't like it, but when I say you invented caller ID, because that's an a keep thing, okay? You have caller
Mhm.
ID, phone trees, the menus, standalone GPS, which you showed me in your Airbiquity office in Bainbridge Island, Washington. You showed me what standalone GPS looked like going to your cell phone. That was awesome
Mhm.
through the satellites. 8 patents, blah blah blah. Do a quick little just who the heck you are, all that stuff, reverting back to your inventions and stuff, and then we'll get on to fun stuff. But tell us who you are,
Sure.
man.
So I've 50 years in telecommunication, basically as an electrical engineer and computer science. Um, as Since we last talked, I now have 16 patents in different aspects of technology. I've worked in telecommunication. I worked for Nortel for 22 years. I've worked in location-based systems such as telematics, the OnStar platform, um, and then sort of diversified areas in technology, because I manage a bunch of other type of products which have nothing to do with telecommunication, but I have to do with sensors and things like city planning, using different types of sensors in streets. I have a fair amount of experience in what I call offshore development. Since 1986, I've had quite a lot of engineers in India, China, Taiwan, Korea, Hungary, um, Barcelona, Spain. Culturally, I've been blessed with, wow, a lot. So it's been a good career. The patents are not. I'm not just the author. I'm a co-author. When you develop a patent, you usually have a consortium of people that help you, that take part of the design and the thought process of what that new technology. When you create a patent, it has to be innovative. It has to be unique, and you have to demonstrate that the current uh, invention is something that is not known to science, and somebody of skill would not know how to do this at this time. So a lot of the patents that I have are co-author with some very, very, very smart people. So it's easy to fly with eagles when you're a turkey. So
Sounding like a true Quebec guy.
yeah, yeah. And just to correct you, I don't have secrets. I don't like broadcasting stuff. It's there's so many bright people out there, much brighter than I am. I just had great opportunities, and it's just happened. That's all it is. So
Val Olson, do you have a question for Andre? I can't imagine.
Wow, where to start? I mean, 8 U.S. patents, and the first
No,
words out of his
16?
mouth is
16. 16.
16. Yeah,
16.
since our
Wow.
last launch. 16
Wow.
patents.
And
Yeah.
he goes immediately to Teams, and
Yep.
that seems to be a common denominator with Andre from our last call that we had, which was over a year ago now. You can go on YouTube and find that. You inspired me, Andre, and you painted a picture of a world full of solutions and technology that involved a place for everyone. And so that to me is who you are, and I hear that coming through you right now. So I just want to let him keep talking, Greg.
Yeah. So just to make a small correction, that what Greg said about me playing hockey, I just got to defend myself. The biggest problem with Greg is that he was always a good skater because he had 2 sets of blades per skates, so he could never fall over, and that was his advantage. And I always let him score because he cried. I mean, he cried. If he didn't score that night, I had to let him go.
Oh, Val, do you know what? Have you ever heard cheese cutters, two blades? You ever heard that before for kids?
No.
What's he talking about is dual blades. Okay, when we were raised little kids, they used to have, they're called cheese cutters. They were little skates with 2 blades on them, kind of like training wheels.
Right.
Yeah, I never, and just to get true full disclosure, I never once used training wheels on my bike or cheese cutters, Andre. But that's our joke.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
That's okay.
One thing for sure, Andre. One thing, 'cause
Yeah.
once you've been a hockey guy from Montreal in the 70s, right? We were all Montreal Canadiens guys, but I kid you not, Andre. I kid you not. You know my beautiful wife, Deborah. And when we first met, before we were married, and I just got to Seattle, and I was just right off the boat from Montreal, right? And I had my accent and everything. I lost my Canadian accent like in a few months because I got so shamed by Americans for it. But I kid you not, true story. Deborah, and one of these, it was like the first couple of weeks I met her, and I went to the trunk of my car. I had a company car. I said, by the way, here's my hockey gear. Right. And it's in the trunk. And I mean, it's just in the trunk in my hockey bag. And I swear to God, it's been there for like 10 years. Right. Because you always, right. Really. And, well, what do you mean? Do you ever wash it? What are you talking about? Wash
You
it?
don't wash it?
My wife, I kid you not, Deborah looked at that. She almost threw up. She couldn't believe that a
Yep.
guy, number one, would keep hockey gear in his trunk, but we always did because we were called in for games, right? I was one of those
Anytime.
ringers, hey, Greg, can you play tomorrow? But she couldn't believe that, and never once did I ever pull out that gear and wash it ever. So anyhow, there's my little story of the day. Speaking of technology and old hockey equipment, but Andre can really relate to that. And now,
Mhm.
Val, you know what cheese cutters are?
Yeah.
Dual blades for like 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. And it's okay, Greg. Don't feel bad. Everybody
Yeah.
starts
Yeah.
somewhere, right?
Yep. That's right. Yeah. Oh my God, we had fun though. It was a lot of fun. But I was always envious of his Montreal Canadian hat with Jean Beliveau. We talk about Jean Beliveau. He was the gentleman of hockey. There it is. And I remember when we were I I've been involved in numerous parts of hockey throughout the United States, North Carolina, Dallas, and when I moved to Seattle, there was no hockey. I mean, there was an old rink that nobody ever used, and Greg decided that he wanted to start his own. He wanted to start a rink. He wanted to bring a real nice, beautiful, very high tech rink in Bremerton, and Jean Beliveau got interested in it. And it's hard to meet guys like that, but he took his time and came to Bremerton, met with Greg, put his John Henry on it, and sponsored it. And I mean, I could tell you, I've played in numerous rink across Canada, United States, even England, and that rink was probably one of the most advanced rink there was. I mean, sensors. You could change the ice to either play hockey or figure skating. It's two different types of ice. Because in figure skating, you want a little softer ice so that you could have a much better capability of making turns and stuff like that. In hockey, you want a hard ice. And so all of that was there. From the top, there was sensors on the ceiling, sensors underneath it. Remember that? That was phenomenal. That was a really good job.
Do I remember that? Excuse me, I rarely correct you on anything because you're way smarter than me. What had happened is Beliveau, Dave Stubbs was involved, the hockey writer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he heard about the thing, and Dave Stubbs called me, and then Beliveau called me on my office phone. He left a voicemail. Are you kidding me? And yeah, the only correction there is Beliveau invited me back to Montreal. He couldn't travel. He was getting
Oh,
older.
okay.
Yeah,
Right.
he would have though,
Yeah,
but
oh, yeah.
he couldn't fly. And so he invited me back, and I met with him at the Bonaventure Hotel in downtown Montreal, where they had the penthouse. They had the lobby on the penthouse. Remember that?
Mhm.
He came up. They brought, and we had a full interview. Dave Stubbs, me, and Beliveau, and kind of a photo op and stuff. What was cool about that, because the people don't know, Americans don't know the name John Beliveau. I always say 17 championship rings. Okay,
Yeah.
17
There he is.
championship.
There it is.
But there he is. That was on the front page of the Montreal Gazette in April 2003. Jean
Yep.
Beliveau. And thank you, honestly. This is what kind of this show is about. We never know what we're going to talk about. I don't think we're going to talk about this, but the big point being to me is that I love going to the top. Once you get to the top, and I didn't realize the top was going to call me here,
Mhm.
But no one in the States knows who he is, and the big names, whether big names like the Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Secretariat, Muhammad Ali, they really don't have anything accomplishments-wise compared to Jean Beliveau. So bottom line, that was so nice for you to bring that up, but it was just because it was one of those rare deals. And honestly, Andre, like I mentioned earlier, I've kept in touch with Elise Beliveau. She's 92 now, 92. And I chatted with her this morning. It was my Montreal day today. I talked to a buddy, Derek. I talked to you, talked to Elise Beliveau. Like you, I live in like 9 time zones. But thank you for bringing that up, because that was a forever ever memory. If anyone knew what it was to actually have this guy call you and
Mm.
back my project, what he loved What he loved is us trying to develop youth hockey for the kids,
Yep.
kids. That's what Gretzky loves. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
show is actually yours. This is about Andre Fournier from here, but you brought it up, man. You'd start getting me talking hockey. Forget it.
Well, that was part of my life, because I mean hockey has been, as when you move from one city to another, the one thing I always look for was, is there any hockey here? So I also, starting hockey is another thing for children. I mean, you have you can it's such a great sport, and it really did in the 70s, in the 80s. It had a little bit of a bad reputation because of some of the fighting, but it's if you show how to, if you teach a child how to skate and how to handle the puck, and it's the excitement that you see in their eyes when they score a goal or when they prevent a goal, is there's nothing like it. It's just, especially because of the speed, because of the coordination with the rest of the team. It's a team effort, and that's always critical for them to know that you're out there playing with a bunch of other kids that want to show their parents that they know how to skate, they know how to pass, they know how to shoot, they know how to score, they know how to block. And so you have to make sure they understand that being a defenseman is just as critical as being a forward. Yeah, the defenseman doesn't score as often, but the way I used to do it with them was to actually tell them, I'm not going to count the number of score that you score, but I'm going to count the number of score that you prevented. And that is just as important. So it's an education of responsibility and team playing, and it's such a critical part of a child's life. Because I know today a lot of the stuff is very individual, and they all have to have trophies if they win or they lose. I don't understand that. Never will. Never understood it. And in life, you lose some, you win some, and sometimes you come out even. And you hope that you come out even more often than anything else, because winning sometimes is giving up on something for somebody else to win. Because that type of gratitude is very, very important in life.
Andre, you're bringing up a big point. The point I love to teach this to kids. Winning is easy. It's when you
Yeah.
lose. That
Yep.
team sports with playing so much of it. Winning's easy, and I see people, even whether it's in sports or otherwise, it's easy to cluck and say, "Hey, everything's great." But when you get your ass kicked in life,
Yep.
it's how you deal with that,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
that actually,
Is not
kind of, that's
taught.
what hockey taught me.
Yep.
And so thank you for that. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We do got to get to Andre's smart brain stuff, man. Talk to me. Talk to me about cars. Okay. Everyone's talking about Elon. Everyone's talking about Tesla. Everyone's talking about the EV industry is just losing its butt and blah, blah, blah. Did you know that Volkswagen shut down a lot of their manufacturing in Europe, like not
Hmm.
long ago? The plant,
Yep.
Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, again, always include Elon anytime, but talk to me about EVs, and really kind of what might be happening in this next few years. Just give me an Andre Fournier 3, 4, 5 minutes here.
So on the electric car, it's not only cars; it's an electric vehicle. There's tractor trailers now that are electric, buses. I mean, you go to Europe, there's a lot more of that over here than there is in North America. There's some challenges. I mean, it's the EV is I think we kind of jumped the gun, try to push the EV to be the primary means of transportation without really thinking about the infrastructure. To charge a car, like for example, we go to Canada 4 or 5 times a year. And we live in Marietta, Georgia. That's an 1,100-mile trip. For me to have an EV to go to Canada, I've got to stop every maybe 300 miles and charge it. And it depends how much you want to spend for the charging. There's different charging mechanics, and you don't have charging station everywhere. The other part is what I call the battery efficiency or the power system efficiency. I was talking to some friends of mine that had electric cars in Montreal and in Quebec City, and they were saying they were losing 20% of their battery, their power system because of the cold. When you take a look at the power system in the EV, is that it is enclosed into a chamber in itself. The batteries are enclosed into an environmentally controlled type of chamber to control the temperature of the battery, because when you charge them, they heat up quite a lot. So that's the piece that I would say is it needs to be evolve or continue to be designed for EV to be successful is the whole infrastructure. Um, that we need much better uh, charging station, more often, more place. It's very costly to get those things in there, and it's not only having access to them, but you got to take a look at the grid. The electrical grids in the United States is pretty old, and the same thing in Canada. If you have a population of 1.5 million to 2 million, and 75% of them, or even um, you know 50% of the population is using a car, and the average family has two cars, that is taxing on the grid itself. So do we have to rethink the electrical grid? I mean, think about it. In the summertime in Texas and in Arizona and even in Georgia, they control our air conditioning. Well, it's the grid requires a lot more attention because we have more houses, and with more EVs, with tractor trailers and buses and trains. So there's we've created the horse, but we haven't done the wagon yet, is what I call it, because we haven't thought about the impact to the whole network of the electrical grid. And the second thing that we haven't thought about that we need to continue is the battery system used in EV is still in its infancy. The lithium process is a very, very long and costly mining system that I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, let's be honest, right? It's got a lot of chemicals involved, and it's not a clean process as we would like to be. So there's a bunch of things that we need to move forward with the EV, and I don't see that I see 2 to 3 years worth of more work in what I call that, evolving the power systems and also the electrical power system for the electrical grid, as we call it, the infrastructure. So, you know, from the intelligence perspective, I mean, the car is the EV car. A lot of the stuff that was done for the Tesla and which was fairly advanced, is starting to move into a lot of the new cars. I mean, look at the Toyotas and the Hondas and the Nissan and the Kia and the Hyundai. They all have big screens, and they have avoidance systems and early detection, and so a lot of that was implemented in a Tesla and other EV cars, and which is now moving um, into the gasoline car. The other type of I wouldn't call it EV, but companies like Toyota and I think Honda have been working on a hydrogen car. I mean, that's another way of saving on petrol. So there's another platform that can be used to get away from gas, but it has not picked up as much because of the same type of issues. Where's the stations to refurbish the necessary combustion um, nucleus. So
Andre,
we still got a lot of work to do.
Andre, tell me about driverless vehicles. I didn't realize there were different levels. You had filled in Val and I on that a little bit, and you had experience with driverless vehicles. Could you take just a couple of minutes on that? Because that's very cool.
Yeah, there's different levels. I mean, there's some of them what I call driver assisted, and there's driverless. And for example, I have a Toyota, I have a Sienna, and it's driver assisted. It's got a cruise control that monitors the distance in front. It will notify me to stop if the traffic is too close. It allows me to do lane deviation. It also allows you for backing up safely if there's a car that's coming over. So I call that driver assisted, but it's not autonomous. There are some autonomous car like the Tesla has an autonomous capability and GM has it, Ford has it. A lot of the electrical cars have got autonomous. Um, it's in the city that would be. This is my own opinion, and it may not be opinion of many other people, but I don't find autonomous car very useful in the city because it's a lot of stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. If you're going on the highway for a long trip, it's useful. It takes away the some of the stress of managing your car, but a lot of people think that autonomous relieves you of the responsibility of managing the car. Just because the car is taking care of the road and the speed and the distance and everything else autonomously, you still got to supervise it. There's been some accidents because people, were reading a book while they were in autonomous driving. You have to remember it's software and it's sensors, and it is possible to have an error in the software to mistake a sunrise for a set of headlights. So, and I'm exaggerating here, but I'm just giving an example that, they're not perfect in any way, shape, or form. So you have to be careful. I know that in Singapore they have autonomous taxis, which I've taken. And, the software that they're using is that if you have a person that crosses the path of the car and there's no other way but to hit either the person or hit another car, the software will hit the other car before it hits a pedestrian. So, when you think about it, you go like, okay, somebody's made the decision for me. So, I'd like to have my own decision. Maybe I should slam the brakes earlier, or So you have to be careful in the autonomous. It doesn't take away the responsibility of the human to control the car because the car is driving itself.
Andre, this is an open, broad question, but it's on the subject. It's the reality of Americans and Canadians out there. This next, call it 5 or 10 years, we're going to still have gas. We're going to have gas cars. The petroleum industry, I assume, won't go away. What do you see? Do you see gas hanging around for kind of ever, or do you actually see an eventual replacement for it?
That's a really tough question. I think that there will be gas in 10 years from now. I've got a 2003 MR2 Spider that's gas with a 5-gear on the floor. I'm not getting rid of that car, and I'm going to need some gas.
What color was that car, Andre? What color was that car?
It's gray. You've seen it.
Of course, I wrote the contracts on it. Did I write the contracts on that one?
Yeah,
no?
You did. Yeah, you did.
The old days.
Yeah.
So you don't see gas going away? What are your thoughts?
I see gas being a commodity, and it will be very expensive because there will always be people that like the super duper 340, Hemi or whatever. There will always be some. I mean, take a look at some of the cars today. I have a neighbor that's got a 1937 Cadillac DeVille, and that's not going to go electric. And if you told him there was no gas tomorrow, I think he'd have a riot. So I think there will be some diehard people that will want to continue gas. But I think that there will be some substitute. There is a mixture of methane and gas that's available today. That's why when you see on the Ford, sometimes we'll use some sort of what they call a hybrid gas.
Is that flex fuel? Is that flex?
Yeah,
fuel?
flex fuel. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a methane and gas together, so it's not a pure gas. It can take other type of fuel, and it's a tough one. I think 5 years. I don't know. I mean, I look at it's not that the car is not here, and it's not that the car is not useful, and it's not that the electric car doesn't bring some good value, especially in the city. Electric cars are really good thing to have because you don't burn gas,
Right.
and that's where the biggest burn is.
Mhm.
But there's a whole infrastructure that really needs to be addressed. That whole hybrid, that whole electric system in the cities and stuff like that
Yeah.
really need to be really addressed, and we're not. We're concentrating on getting the car ready, and really we're not concentrating a lot on getting the infrastructure put in place so that and not only having the point of charge, but also having a point of charge that can give you a charge very quickly, so that you can. Am my conversation that bad?
No, I think that's my Belgian sheepdog, Jesse. Yeah, he's probably heckling you. Probably
Yeah, I
heckling
know.
you. Quick switch. Actually, this is so great. Val, I want to turn it back to you a little bit. I want to talk about satellites. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and I want to hear just the newest what's going on. And I'm just gonna say it's a big issue. I'm not the IT guy, as you know, Andre. I ain't nothing, man. I ain't nothing. But
Don't score yourself, Lord, on what you really are. Come on.
okay. But I'm going to turn it to Val a little bit. I want to talk about satellites. I want to talk
Mhm.
about access. There's so much, and just going to talk like a layman here. There's so much garbage with censorship and not being maybe you'll have access to the internet. Val, take a minute or two, whatever. I know you got satellite talk and or access talk like this. Just chat it up here with Andre and see what his take is.
You're on mute.
You're speaking my language, Greg.
Oh.
I want to hear about satellites. So keep going, Andre. Over to you.
Well, I'm not as familiar with satellite as I would like to be, but the 5G is because it's some of the areas in the world that do not have. It's not cost effective to put the infrastructure in the ground, the fiber and everything else. So 5G has included satellites for remote areas and urban areas, not urbans, but rural areas. Even in the United States, there are some certain areas like South Dakota, North Dakota. Those places are not always covered with a good cellular coverage. I was in a meeting with the National Telecommunication and Information Agency, the NTIA. They're investing something like $44 billion in research for 5G in the United States, including satellites. And there's all kinds of companies bidding for a piece of the pie so they could do some research. Companies like Iridium, there's an old Nortel guy, his name is Matt Desch, really, really sharp man. Took Iridium is a satellite company, what they call low altitude satellites, and he's looking into providing 5G with the satellites. um, to cover rural areas and provide much better service for cellular and internet and so on. Is it going to be costly? I don't know. I mean, Dish is not that expensive, and neither is Direct TV, and they have satellites up there already. So I would say initially it may be a little expensive, but the more people that buy the service, Hughes also has satellites that they use for internet. DirecTV uses satellites for internet, and so does Dish. So, and they do provide it a little bit more expensive than fiber. But if you're in an area like, Bismarck, 100 miles south of Bismarck in the middle of nowhere, uh, it may be the best thing for you to have. Will it get less expensive? I think that's what the NTIA wants. It wants to do. It wants to make it more cost effective. So it's providing that $4 billion to do the research to make it less expensive, more available, and more distributed. But there's a ways to go. I mean, they're looking at offering. They're looking at all of the bids have been put forward. There's over 400 bids being put forward to the NTIA for that money. So not all of it is satellites. A lot of it is radio as well. So that's coming.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to jump to next is what are we going to see technology wise with radio, with space? I've got my eye on a little idea that combines two. Am I behind? Am I behind in this, or am I ahead on this? Are we going to see radio have a comeback like never before?
You mean like AM/FM radio?
Yes.
That's a good question. I don't think radio as we used to know it is going to be around, but the frequencies are going to be available for the frequencies are going to be available because and they'll be using the same platform as we do today. They have digital radios now. They don't have analog radios like we used to know them. So, and also a lot of the radios today, you can find them on the internet. I mean, I can listen to a radio station from Portland, Ontario, where our cottage is, called the Lakes. And I was, before I came on board, I was listening to the music from the lake in Barcelona, Spain, on my computer. So I think the frequencies are going to be there. The medium, how to get it, will be different. It won't be a box like we know it. You can have it. You can go on YouTube and you can go on Google and download a radio station. As a matter of fact, my son Christopher, Christopher, Greg, has a show every Friday night. He plays the 1930s and 40s music. It's called 360 the West, and it's an hour show, and he just.
How old is Chris now?
Oh, Christopher's 45.
Oh my God! I
I'm
knew him
72 years old.
How can we find his show? I'd love to listen to it.
Sure, I can send you the link. It's and he's also, the other thing too that he's doing. He's creating another radio station on that same platform, 60s and 70s. That's all he wants to play.
Oh,
And
that's
he's already put about I think he's put about 1,000 songs on there, and he mixes them, and so on and so forth. And he enjoys it. He doesn't get. We pay for the internet, and he does it. And so, if you ever want to find out more about that, he would be a good person. He's been very good on the web.
yeah.
Andre, shout out to Chris with a K, Fournier. Just he's the nicest guy. I've known him for over 20 years. And I just want to tell you, I know his daddy must be a nice guy because this kid's respectful. We've been friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
And he's very much like his dad. I think he's a little smarter, maybe, but he's just like his dad. But shout out to Chris, really nice guy. Nice guy. And it's so important to see young people that are raised right. And he was. So I want to ask real quick. Want to ask about Elon Musk. Okay.
Okay.
This is going back a while back. You told a story because you had met him. Okay. I just want to talk Elon for a
Mhm.
few minutes. I personally think, I'll just say this. I think he's the Generation X leader for the next century, like one of these names. Okay. But
Mhm.
Generation X, but not, I'll be diplomatic here. Shall I say more of a conservative, normal person? I'll just say that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I think he is one of those guys. You met him. Listeners don't know who you are yet. Talk to me a little bit about that. And when's the last time you talked to him?
Oh, I haven't talked to him in a couple of years.
Oh,
The
okay.
last time I met him, I met him was at a conference, and we had a conversation about some of the technology he was working on for SpaceX, which is quite interesting. Um, Elon is a self-made man. I mean, I can tell you, he's not afraid to tell you his thought. He listens very well, but he can also tell a good story. Um, I would agree with you. He is a leader. He's a super smart guy. Uh, the thing is, he does not put up with bullshit. I'm sorry, but that's the way I'm going to say it. And it's nice to hear somebody that doesn't is not as concerned to be politically incorrect. But
Well,
too many
thank
people that,
God. We
yeah,
need that, though. Thank God.
yeah, because to
There
me, when
used to
you,
be characters in the old days, but they're good for you, man. I love to hear that.
yeah, no, I don't believe in politically correct. If you're trying to be politically correct, it's because you're trying to lie to me. So just tell me the truth. I mean, if it's going to hurt me, I'm a big boy. I'll take it. I'll move forward, especially if it's constructive. You know, I don't like my part in the middle. I'd like to be a little bit on the side. I can try to do so. I'll get a toupee.
He had talked with you, though. When you met him for the first time, he wanted to know
Mhm.
what you knew, right? He
Yes,
wants your take. Because I said, don't shortchange yourself here.
yeah,
You had a chat with him. And what did you chat with, if you don't mind, a couple of years ago?
yeah.
Anything current or go ahead?
No, we were talking about 5G at the time and the impact on the car and all that type of stuff. And he also wanted to find out about a little bit about satellite, but I don't think he's not going to get into satellite. He likes the space stuff because he thinks he. I would not be surprised if he, after he's done, solidify all of the his rocket and moving and go up there and so on. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to put a lab up there. It would not surprise me. Period.
Wow.
Now he's never said that,
Yeah.
but I would not be surprised because you know that he has a high speed. He has an underground high speed train underneath in a tunnel. Did you know that?
No.
A
That's why we
very
have you. That's
I
why we
did.
have you
Yep.
on Z. Oh, did you
you
know that,
did
Val?
to about I think it does about 200 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, very high
Whoa.
speed. Yep.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Pop quiz question. Do you think he's going to put a man on Mars?
Oh, I think he would be. I think he would be interested in that. I, the thing with Elon is that if it's an impossibility
That's what he wants
and
to
he
do.
gets intrigued, he will do it. He will try it. I mean, look at what he did with X. Was it X?
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yes,
Yeah.
know.
and
Yeah.
Grok. We can't forget about Grok, Andre. What do you
Yeah.
think of Grok?
Uh,
Actually, Val, tell Andre real quick. Tell him about your experience with Grok. I think Andre has a few comments about AI, but tell him about your experience. And you're like on their payroll or something now, aren't you? Tell
No,
him.
no, no.
No.
I'm number three, actually. I am number three beta tester for Grok Mini. And it's very exciting. And it's kind of like Grok and I work together. I train Grok, or I keep a close eye on Grok, and keep Grok in line on the back end. And I think that's how we have to look at technology. Is it using us, or are we using technology wisely? So I'm thrilled to Grok let me know that I am number 3. And I love that. I hope next round I'm always challenging them on the back end and saying, can you do this? And they're not where we are yet, but hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. So I'm a big fan of Grok.
Yeah, no, it's, the whole AI thing is got some really positive stuff, and there's some scary stuff. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I found very interesting is that some of the technical documents I've been reading lately have been written by AI. And when you think about it, what does that mean to us? I mean, let me give you a little bit of a. So I love technology. Okay, so don't get me wrong, but let me give you a little bit of a scenario. Cars are driving by themselves; they're autonomous. AI is writing documents for us. AI is also can design some products. We tend to be offhand when it comes to those type of technology. Does that scare you? We need to be in control,
Mhm.
and we cannot advocate the human responsibility of managing this correctly, because my biggest disappointment in the technology that I've worked with for my whole career, I mean 50 years of this, is that we've taken away the human interaction out of communication. When you sit down and you look at people at a dinner table, I was at a friend of mine, and these two boys were sitting there on their phone clicking away. We've lost that. We're losing the interaction of communicating between people. And I look at each other in the eyes and go like, "Are you bullshitting me? Are you telling me the truth?" The English language, and I'm French. I speak French, so the English language is a beautiful, beautiful language, but it separates numerous country, numerous city, and separates numerous families now, because they type things. I can't see your face. I can't see your eyes. I can't hear your voice. The only thing I'm seeing is words. What does that mean? So that's my disappointment. I really have a real problem with that.
Can we incorporate the two though? Like I think about that and I'm like, is there a mesh of the two where we still are in control from our mind aspect, our brain, but yet our heart can be through, like push it through like a frequency. And I know that maybe sounds crazy, but if you stop and think about it, I think we're pretty close to pushing things through our frequencies that we have.
Yeah, I think we can still manage it, but if you look at the general population, we're lazy, and so we're going to get, we're going to, the danger is getting so lazy that we're not in control anymore. And that's one of the things, when my kids, I mean, my daughter is 36 and my son is 45. When they send me text message, I wrote back, call me. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your tone. I want to see the speed of your voice. I want to know what you're saying. And I want to ask a bloody question. I don't want to be just send me a text message. Because by the time I finish typing, or by the time, I can talk to the phone now, it, you lost your train of thought, and you could read something wrong. So I agree with you that, the AI, we can manage it. We can work with it. But just like an autonomous car, just because the car is driving down the road doesn't take you away from that responsibility of saying, I need to get in control of that car. So that's,
Andre, I heard a really scary thing on an international radio show the other day, and it says that people don't realize there's multi AI
yes.
products
Oh,
and
yeah.
platforms. And
Yep.
now the AI is like analyzing the other AI, who can be the best AI.
Mhm.
And I asked you a question. We aired this January
Yes.
3rd, 2023. We had you on the air. And I asked you a question. I said, are computers still stupid? Because the question always was, well, computers, no matter how smart they are, they're still stupid. They need human input or to
Mhm.
turn the on button. At the time you said, yeah, and still computers are still stupid. Do you still stand with that? Or after, and talk a little about these multi AI competing against each other? That's scary, dude.
Yeah, the computer is still a tool that we use because we're in control. They're getting smarter because, I mean, now that when I log into my computer, I don't even need to worry about my password. It just looks at my face. I'll give you something that's really interesting. Um, I know a young lady that bought an iBot. You know what an iBot is? It's a electronic dog. It will bark. It will even pretend to pee, lift its leg. I am not kidding you. It
So
will.
it's a French Canadian dog, then. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's a whole mechanical. It looks just like a dog. It has eyes. It has what it will do is it will recognize people, put it on the iCloud and recognize different people and give different tones for a specific person. So the question I asked the young lady says, what about privacy? Who says that somebody's out watching your house through that dog? I scared the living lights out of her. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, think about it. Everything that dog sees is on the cloud. What happens if somebody gets into your cloud account? They can see you when you walk around. They know what your house looks like. They know what type of property you have. So intelligence is there, but you need to control how much you want to let it see it. As far as computers are concerned, it's similar to that. It depends what software you want to put on your computer. I have an AI on my computer, but I don't use it to write a document. I use it to help me with my thoughts. I'll give it a thought, it'll generate a bunch of ideas. I'll take an idea, I'll expand it. So it helps me with my thought process, but I'm in control because every time I ask something about it, it gives me a different direction. And sometimes I will say, what if I don't do this? I'll say, okay, tell me what happens if I overcharge a battery by 10%. What if I don't discharge it fast enough? It will give me some example. So it helps me with my thought process, but I'm still driving it. But you could have something, you could install something on your computer. The only thing you have to do is say, turn on, write a document about owning an electronic dog. What are the risks? And it will do it. The AI will do that.
You still have to ask the question, though, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
otherwise it's stupid. It doesn't know what to do unless you tell it what to do. We always get into these philosophical things. We'll talk
Yep.
John Steinbeck or something, maybe on Mice and Men or something someday. But
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on stuff, because as your beautiful wife, Louise, had once said, boy, my husband, Andre, he's an awesome guy, and I'd give anything to have his brain. He's the smartest human being. And I'm telling you what, all BS aside, man, this is why we so connected in the old days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hockey brought us together, but you gave me a tour of Airbiquity, your company at the time, that was like 30 years ahead of the world. It was a really cool connection. But in the end, I'm just telling you, and I'll take this minute because it's my microphone. You're the smartest guy I've ever known, Andre. And you underrate yourself so badly because, of course, we know why. You're a goaltender, so you underrate yourself a lot. But you really do. This is hats off from me. I've loved having you as a friend. You are the smartest guy I know. Just like Captain McCormick, presidents ask him about stuff. You're one of these guys that guys like Elon ask you your opinion. So that's just a shout out to you, man, for me to get a little emotional here, but it's true. I'm sitting on my own network, my own radio show now with my friend Andre Fournier. Dude, we look so much older than when we first met. I look in the mirror, I say, who is that? That's like my grandfather, and he's dead. Right? but
Yeah.
that's from my heart.
Mm.
Whether or not people out in the audience and stuff love to hear your technology stuff, whatever. I'm just telling you, you're a good guy, and you've been a good dad, and I'll forever have you back on my show.
I appreciate that. And you know, it's not that I just think there's a lot of people out there that are just as bright or brighter than I am, and you have some very good skills. I mean, I can tell you, I was really impressed the way you did the rink. You went against some pretty damn big odds, and you beat them. So never underestimate that. You did a really fantastic job.
Thank you. I needed that today. Seriously. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Andre, I want to jump in for a minute because when you were on our radio show, you talked about your parents and your upbringing. And I'm just curious because here you are at the top of your game, the top of the technology mountain. And do you still hear your mother's voice? Because some of these common sense advice tips that's coming out of you sound like that probably came from somewhere that's deeply personal. So would you go there and just talk about why you have the position on things, that real common sense approach of don't forget humanity, don't leave humanity behind?
I think it's partly part of my parents, but it's also me growing up in a different environment. You know, I've been all over the world, and I've been exposed to different culture. I've been to India in '86. I've been going to India since 1986, at least once every year. I've been to China just after the Tiananmen Square. I've been in China, lived in China. I lived in Sweden. I lived in England. I lived in Canada. I lived in seven or eight states in the United States. The culture is different all over, and if you there's two ways of doing it. Everybody could be an asshole if they're not like me. Excuse the English. Or you could say these people can give me something just as much as I can give them. And if you're not willing to listen to it, then you don't grow. You become a stagnant person. And my parents were like that. I mean, we moved quite. I mean, I remember in grade 8, we moved from Saint Jean, Saint Bruno, Saint Remy, Ottawa, 4 times in grade 8. And I'm going like, and I passed it. And my dad kept saying, "Don't give me that excuse." So
How did that happen, Andre? Was your dad sales guy or something? What?
No, my
How
dad
did-
was running away from the cops.
Secrets from the Inside, starring Andre Fournier and his
No,
criminal dad. Tell me about that, man. Tell me.
no, I'm just kidding. My dad was a mechanic, and he was as we just basically move. I mean, we were 8 kids, so it was really hard to find a place to live, and so he just went to where it was cheaper. And in 1967, my grandfather had just passed away. My grandmother was by herself, so he moved to Ottawa, where my grandparents were. So, and you know, my dad spoke 5 languages. He spoke English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish fluently. Not bad for
Wow.
a native. Not bad for a native.
How did he learn that?
Well, he was in the armed forces. He was in this 22nd Regiment, La 22. And just so that you know, Val, the 22nd Regiment was the only French Canadian uh, division in the Canadian Armed Forces in the 50s and 60s, and they were very well known for their work. So he was on the 22nd Regiment. He had friends that were Italian. Two of his brothers married 2 sisters that were Italian from Sicily. So if you want a contract, let me know. I know some people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
just,
I
yeah,
just
you know,
have to.
that's what this show is about is we love our vets. And
Wow.
we are always on watch, you know, so to think like just what you're sharing today, there's a lot of things happening in Canada right now. And I just want to
Mhm.
recognize and lift up our vets because they are
Mhm.
not being treated properly. And
Yep.
I think that face-to-face communication is so important for even that part of it. My generation to stand up now and not forget our vets, whether it's the United States or it's Canada. But Andre, I just want to let you know there's some in Canada right now that are being treated pretty terribly, and technology is being misused so that the accountability is missing. And I really hope we can change that, and we can find solutions, because it's heartbreaking. We heard from James today, and to think of, what your father did for our country, and Greg let me in on a little tidbit. I don't know if you're willing to go there, but you have history with the Canadian military as well, and just not very much.
Go there, Val. Go there. Okay. We talked about you behind your back last episode, and I said, Andre, he didn't cut it in the Canadian military. Please tell that story. If you're
you son of a gun. Yeah, no, I was in the reserve for about probably 9 months. And I was very much in martial art in those days, because I was a little guy when I was in high school. When I turned 16, I got into martial art, and we were in self-defense, and the guy that was teaching I made a statement, and he went after me, and to his surprise, I beat him to it. And the lieutenant came in and he says, "This is not your calling." So I left.
Whoa.
What a loss. What a loss.
Yeah.
We need both sides of every story. I didn't know that. I kind of applied on the air that you're, a little, what I mean? Like, not that bright. You couldn't cut it in the Canadian military.
No, it was one of the, but it was fine with me. And it wasn't my calling. I mean, it's and I was a little bit of a show off at the time too. So, I wasn't afraid of defending myself, and he went to do something, and I just flipped him over and landed him on his back, and he got really mad at me, because he was supposed to be an expert.
I'll tell you what, you were a victim of outshining a boss. Dude, I've been fired before from a six-figure job because the boss had never seen anyone kick his ass with the numbers, right? The old days. Wow, that's a great story, dude. Val, do you have any other military questions while we're on the military?
I do, because, what a loss. What a loss to the Canadian military. 16 U.S. patents later. And I just, in 10 words or less, will bring you to where we're at with the Canadian military, because I hold dear our veterans. And so when I hear, and I have record and statements that we have Canadian veterans that are living off of rats. They're eating rats in Canada, because there's nothing, they cannot access the proper programs, or when I cannot get a hold of the spokespeople in the departments of the Canadian military, because they refuse to do the face-to-face. Sometimes those ninja moves that you're talking about, they happen for a reason. And so that's why we have to start naming names, sitting at the table and having these discussions, because people's lives are worth it. And we're not going to take that. We're not going to allow that to continue.
Yeah. Well, when you think about what the vets are doing, right? They're taking a part of their life and giving it. So
that's right.
So you sit there and you go. They sit there and they train. They're put through self-defense. They put through some very, very difficult training. And then they go to our country and they defend us. And they come back, and you got some people that tend to protest. They don't like them, and then they come back, and we treat them less than illegal immigrants. Now tell me, what the hell is that all about? These people put their life not on the line. They put their life on hold, because a lot of not only theirs, but their family, their spouse, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man. They put their family's life on hold when they go to Germany for 3 years for a station. They take their kids and go back. One of them gets killed. Now you got 3 kids, and you never know. It's like being a policeman. I mean, to me, I just don't get that. I mean, when I see those things, that those young people that go out and, like Captain
McCormick.
McCormick was saying, you know, when a police tells you to stop, you know, I could tell you if my dad told me to stop running and I didn't, I can tell you what would have happened. I would have stopped running one way or the other.
You know, honestly, it sounds cliche, but it's not. There's a disconnect between the older generations and the younger generations from a manners and politeness standpoint.
Yep.
I'm just going to go back to everything I've ever learned in life is from my mother in Dorval. You'll
Yep.
look back and say, wow, my mom taught me everything. And you know what she said? And this was in the 70s. She was
Mhm.
a school teacher. My grandmother's a school teacher. My great grandmother's a school teacher. And my mom burned out in the 70s the first time she got a chair thrown at her by an unruly student.
Yep.
Because she's came up. My grandmother was a one-room schoolhouse, but my mom said they're changed. Everything's changed. The kids have changed. And all she ever said was, where are the parents?
Yep. That's
Where
right.
are the parents? There you go.
But you
We'll be wrapping. We're actually going to be wrapping pretty quick. We got my favorite guy in the world, Mike Russell, coming on here in a few
Mhm.
minutes. But Val, I'll kind of let you wind it down. I'm just going to do my sign off here to say merci beaucoup, mon ami. Okay, à la prochaine.
Toujours
Okay?
bienvenue. Toujours bienvenue, mon ami.
And like I always say, you've heard this before. I will say my sign off is wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time. Because
Yep.
before you know it, you're in grade 1. Okay,
Yep.
à la prochaine. I'll let you wrap, Val, and intro Mike here. Thank you, dude. It was awesome having you, Andre. À la
It
prochaine.
was my
Okay.
privilege. It was my
See ya.
privilege. Thank you.
Oh,
Bye.
what a treat to have you. I hope you know we are here for you. If there's ever anything you want to come and share with our audience, please come back and make sure and let Chris know. We want to bring him on our radio show and hear about his radio show. So I'll let
Oh,
you
okay.
sign off. And thanks again, Andre.
No, thank you very much for the invite. I always enjoy speaking with you guys, and thank you for the privilege and the time.
So it is that time. We are going to bring we're going to bring Mike Russell here. Hello, in other news, there he is.
Well,
Mike.
here I am. Yes, I'm pushing buttons all at the same time here, and I'm trying to share this out to my audience at the same time. So
Here comes trouble, man.
Oh,
Here comes
While you're doing
trouble.
that, you guys, I want, now that we're all on screen here, the debate last night, wasn't that something? Wow. I don't know about you, Greg. We didn't talk about this, but I was just blown away. I'm going to go positive here. These two gentlemen, because they behaved like gentlemen, we're really
Yes, they did.
working through some points from both sides that we could work on together. And I was impressed. I was really impressed with what I watched last night.
I said it was a masterclass. JD Vance, 100% masterclass in debate. It really was. It was exactly what that side of the ball needed, and I think that the points were all on that side. I think the Tim Wells pee-pee dance that he kept doing is just it's just unbecoming of somebody that is going to sit next to and be one basically chicken bone away from the White House. I had no confidence in Tim Wells, but I think that more of the canned speeches and things that they said, it was how they delivered it and how they said it. Right. It was everything that needed to be told.
Yeah, it was
Mike,
so
I'll
simple.
be obviously signing off to your own show here, but I had one question for you personally when I watched this debate. I said, Vance showed me what I kind of get frustrated with Trump. He showed me like you say, the master class, the statistics, keeping it clinical and simply. I keep saying whenever I hear a bipartisan immigration bill, I always say, do you know they're guaranteeing 5,000 illegals per day? Did you know about that? Do you know that they're trying to make sure that no future president can cancel it with an executive order? Did you know that? And Vance nails on this stuff. Really, really well. I'll turn it over to you and I wanted your thoughts on that, at how, to me, good he was and still being personable.
Yes, and relatable. I think if I get pulled over by a police officer and ask me how fast I was going, I'm going to say, well, I was born in a middle class neighborhood. That's basically, I'm hoping that works. I doubt it will. But the man did say, I did grow up in a middle class neighborhood. My mom was an addict. I was raised by my grandmother, who I was in the military, GI Bill. Like they did. everything that guy said was the yin to Trump's yang. And that's we know now after the debate last night exactly why the Trump team picked JD Vance, because he has the same spine as Trump. He can deliver more articulately. And I'm not saying that Trump is falling in mental faculties. I'm saying that Trump has always been Trump. He's always spoken that way. He's always said, quite literally, everyone agrees in the whole world, instead of JD Vance saying 73% of these people say this. Yes.
Right.
So
and don't let anyone tell you differently. There's some Democrats and some media folks that are a little scared right now after watching Vance, because no one's giving him a fair shake and just listen to him.
MSNBC took turns at complimenting Tim Walz, and it was so funny. Oh, no one speaks more articulately in the Democrat Party. I'm like, I have a handful that do, right off the top of my head. So yeah.
I'll let you go. Val, go ahead and
it was, you guys, it was so respectful though. I mean, obviously Vance he cleaned the house, but more Democrats are coming over to our side based on how it was presented, and that conduct between the two. I found it was excellent. It was needed. It was a breath of fresh air. It was great.
Because it's a battle of hearts and minds of the independents is what it is. Yeah. And I think that Val, I think is a very well stated point, is that's the Republicans do speak articulately. Wow. And they're not a bunch of blowhards. So yeah. Okay. All right. I'm with you.
Shout out here, Mike, to your nice folks. Rhonda Crawford's in the house. Truman Reynolds. Truman. He's a smart guy. He's in the house. We kind of got overlapping audiences. How cool. Shout out to you guys. Welcome. Boy, I sure hope we see Grizz here any minute, right? He always shows up. So
I'll turn it over to if we say something inappropriate, some kind of radar will go off with Grizz and he'll pop right in there.
What people don't know about Grizz, I've shouted him out on the air. He's a veteran.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, and Mike, he's had his ass kicked in life.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
You know, and he's also from West Seattle. I mean, we don't
hold it against him.
Dumping. Good. Dude, what a grease fire up there with King County.
Dude, he was part of the Chaz.
Oh, dude. I'm going to turn it to Val here. Go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Wrap our show and introduce Mike. Mike, God love you, man. So awesome to hear you here. We finally got some talent brought to the table. We got Mike Russell.
Yeah, keep the bar set low.
This is Secrets from the Inside Radio Network, and now it's time for other news.
All right, let's jump right in here. Thanks, you guys, for allowing me the time, and to me and my co-host Bob Ross. We will get you all caught up on everything. Kind of what we just touched on. I like to stick outside of the Trump and Harris sphere as much as I can, but it is what it is. We are in probably the most, I would say, interesting, to be nice, a very interesting time in election that we've seen in this country, at least to our knowledge. I'm sure back in the day there were some gunfights and some cool stuff like that. But in recent memory and in recorded memory, that we're in the throes of this. And last night obviously was a huge piece of this puzzle, when no one really cares what a VP debate has ever been in the past. It wasn't. It didn't move the needle. I think last night we moved some needles, and there were, outside of the masterclass that JD Vance put on for all of us to watch and represented, I think as Val put it, or she was getting to and alluding to, a solid representation of what we the conservative people are. Who we the conservative people are, and exactly how we have how we've carried ourselves and conducted ourselves while watching a train wreck of the Marjorie Taylor Greens and a train wreck of the Matt Gaetzes. And that's not how we work. Who we are as a JD Vance. We're studied. We make sure we get our facts right. And if we screw up, fine. And if we want to give shout outs to the other side, we will give shout outs to the other side. We will compliment them when it is around. What's up, Brendan? What's up, Truman? Good to see you, Jim. Ronald, how's everybody doing? This is kind of a simulcast we'll be doing with Val and Greg, and I'm very excited about this and the opportunity to be here and just go. Let's go. So let's make it happen. Last night, I'm going to, I don't know if Val's still around. I'm going to attempt my darndest to play some video. So we're gonna give that a try. I didn't want to test it backstage if it would have broadcast over their stuff. So we're gonna play together as we do this for the first time. We're gonna play together and learn kind of as we go. But here's what I wanted to talk about when it came to the debates is not the point counterpoint, because the point counterpoint wasn't even funny. It wasn't even fair. It was buttoned up Ivy League debate scholar versus a guy that's completely in over his head, and Tim Walz. So we can play clips about that. Here's a few things that I want to hone in on. And one is, if you know me, I study body language. Body language is is as important as what you're saying. So me, I when I got my 23andMe back, when I got my DNA, I thought for sure I would be a lot more than 1% Italian because I speak with my hands. That's why I study body language. What I saw last night was a man that was afraid to be there. I saw in Governor Walz somebody who was afraid to be on that stage next to someone who clearly outguns him in every way. Record outguns him. American values outguns him. Debate style, speech, looks, everything outguns him. And what we saw was a man who, every time eye contact was made, and he kept looking over to JD Vance, kept looking at JD. When JD made eye contact with him, Tim dropped his head. Okay, that's submissive. Dropped his head and started acting like he's taking notes. Was he taking notes? I don't think so. Because he's older than me, and at 49 years old, it takes me longer to write a thought out than when he just went like this. The reason that's important, Mike, maybe he's not comfortable in debate. Maybe he's not comfortable in the limelight. You are going to be the leader of the free world, the co-leader of the free world on a global stage. You better damn well be able to be next to someone of power that is outgunning you and not look like you're doing the pee-pee dance the entire time. He was so fidgety. JD Vance was stoic and calm. And as Greg brought an amazing counterbalance to Donald Trump as running mate. It gave, and as Val brought in, it brought this calm, I think, to the center-right base, and it opened the eyes of a lot of the undecided moderates and independents that think, okay, this is not going to be a completely off the rails, we didn't expect that to happen, first run that President Trump had. This might be a little bit more, I guess he did have pens, right? He had pens, but that wasn't a good counterbalance. That was more of a, what do we call that? A sleeping pill. Yeah, that wasn't, Pence was NyQuil to the Trump team is what that was. And if that's balance they need, that's balance they need. But JD, I think, did a bang up job. But Tim Walz, his body language said everything that needed to be said, because what he was reading in his counterpoints that he had. What's up, Gene? His counterparts, his counterpoints were it's just words on paper. It just. And by the way, who after the last debate had any confidence that this debate was even on the up and up? That he didn't have all the questions ahead of time. I credit JD Vance for fact checking a fact check. Say, hey, listen, y'all said you weren't doing the fact check thing, but you just fact checked me, so let me respond. And he did, and he didn't take no for an answer. What did MSNBC do? Took that as him mansplaining over the female moderators. How dare he? I won't say my favorite meme from the day. I'm not going to say my favorite meme from the day. Okay, it was JD Vance versus 3 females. Okay, we're going to move on. So let's see if I can play any of this. Let's give it a try. So we are going to share a video file, and we're going to go. This is Tim Walz, one of the probably the roughest parts of the evening. Let me give you this here. And we're going to hopefully add it to stage. Here we go. Nope. Root from studio. All right. I don't think I can play the audio. There we go. Thank you.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989.
Too much fun.
But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year.
And the cool thing about that is, you know what that means? That means that, no, you weren't there. Not media reports or media outlets are reporting. Dude, you weren't there. All right, let's go back to the question and the answer, and we'll jump on that here. Let's see if we can get it back here. Tim Walz. Por favor. All right, we'll get the audio. There you go.
Can you
Last part.
explain that discrepancy? You have 2
Yeah,
minutes.
well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and
Here
I'm
we go.
proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China.
Where are you
The
at
issue for that
Tiananmen
was to
Square?
try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that.
You
Those
don't
same
talk
people
too good.
elected me to Congress for 12 years.
On lies.
And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done,
Tampons
working
and
on veterans
bathrooms.
benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what.
Okay, that's enough of this bozo. Are you kidding me? God bless JD Vance for just looking over at him and say, yeah, you know what, dude, I have no idea what we say. We didn't start a trade war. Trade war didn't happen. We sure as hell didn't lose the trade war. No, we didn't lose a trade war. The government has kept all of those sanctions in place and is raking billions. Our government didn't lost a trade war. Boy, you done lost your mind. How many trips to China did it take for you to lose your bleeping mind? You lost your soul because you sold it. You're a sellout. Donald Trump should have gone, wouldn't have been praising Xi Jinping when you have the Biden-Harris administration. This is something I'm going to get to in just a moment. But when you have the Biden administration claiming, I've been on a plane more hours with Xi Jinping than his wife, or whatever the hell Biden wants to rattle on about. But Biden talks about Xi Jinping all the time. Donald Trump says, I don't see him as an adversary. I just see him as somebody who's taking advantage of us, and we're just going to recalibrate the system. That's it. That's all we're going to do. We're going to recalibrate it so we make the money. So they don't make the money, we make the money. That's what America First is. And that's why he will win again in just a few short weeks. This is a wonderful, wonderful example of a team. And I say team, the Harris Walz team is not I don't even know the last time I saw the two of them together. Maybe it's the day they announced that he was going to be the running mate. But she even has to distance herself. They have to distance themselves from each other in their lies. And then exactly what they do on a daily basis on the campaign trail is this nonsense. I love it how JD Vance said that he had to play, he actually felt sorry for Tim Walz, that he had to play whack-a-mole because he constantly had to lie about Donald Trump's record. He had to lie about Donald Trump's record on the economy. He had to lie about Donald Trump's record on jobs. And now he has to lie about Kamala Harris's record as vice president. Here's what wasn't brought up, which I needed. I wish it could have been brought up. And it needed to be brought up. Is that the one excuse that all of this can be explained away with, the one excuse, Kamala Harris wasn't the president for the last 3.5 years. They're right. And for a lot of people and a lot of independents, this was a lot of independents. This is something that they will believe. They're like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? She wasn't president. I mean, she was a vice president. Probably the most useless job in government. So yeah, okay. I'm not really gonna put all this on her. What needs to be pointed out regularly is that This is the first administration. It was never the Obama-Biden administration. It was the Obama administration, right? It was not the W. Cheney administration. It was not the Clinton-Gore administration. It was the Clinton administration. It was the Bush administration. It was the Obama administration. This, for the first time, as they painted themselves into the worst political corner you can, made sure that it was always referred to as the Biden-Harris administration. Biden-Harris administration. At every turn, at every single turn, they made sure that you knew that Kamala Harris was the last one in the room, that she was the last one that's going to be around. She was making the decisions. You ask her about that on Afghanistan, the reason, the pullout of Afghanistan, the disaster at Abbey Gate, the thousands of lives, people murdered in the streets during their disastrous pullout of Afghanistan, leaving billions of dollars in really, really nice American military equipment behind. You ask her, were you the last person? Yes, I was. Yes, I was. So this was your call for this withdrawal, right? Well, I was born in a middle-class neighborhood. They painted themselves the Biden-Harris administration. They can't walk away from it. So that's the one piece of this whole puzzle that I was missing. There is, so I'm going to say that JD didn't bat 1,000, but JD bat 990 easily. That one little component to just say, stop running from your record when you made it Kamala Harris's record. You made it her record. This is on you. You had an opportunity to not make this about Kamala Harris. You had an opportunity to just say she was a solid VP. She kept her mouth shut and she just played a game, which every vice president does. Keep your mouth shut, play the game. Now you're top dog for a run for president. And she could have easily, had they just called it the Biden administration, she could have said, that was Joe's administration. This is going to be my administration. And she would have been in better shape. So people need to start pointing that out on the public stage instead of just, well, we're not going to have any more debates. God bless Don. President Trump was asked about his refusal to do 60 Minutes. He goes, I'm not refusing to do 60 Minutes. I want to do 60 Minutes. I love 60 Minutes. Because I just need an apology from them. I want an apology. I went back and watched half of that interview this morning, and my chin was on the floor. I was blown away by how absolutely biased and rude that interview was. And I can handle that. I can handle biased and rude interviews. I get them. Hell, sometimes I give them. Not rude. I'm not really a rude guy. But this was over the top. And I think it was the reason why when Donald Trump was the only candidate that showed up to the National Association of Black Journalists meeting, or whatever it was, their conference, that he called it out. He's like, I'm not going to do the 60 Minutes crap again. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about why y'all made me wait 30 minutes. Y'all showed up late. And the first question you ask me is something completely framed into, are you still racist? Yes or no? Is absolutely absurd. Rhonda brings up the way JD kept looking at the camera last night was fantastic. Directly in the camera. I'm talking to you. And remember, and I want you to go back and look at this when you see it. When he made eye contact with Governor Walz, I'm trying to be respectful with Governor Walz. I'm not calling it Tampon Tim. Not going to call him that all the time. When he looked at Governor Walz looked down immediately like he was acting. He was, oh, okay. Don't make eye contact because you start sweating and doing your little pee-pee dance. The man is not ready by any stretch. J.D. Vance is quite literally ready to grab the reins of the free world, have something happen to Donald Trump. Say something, if something, God forbid it happening, if something were happening to President Trump, J.D. Vance is ready in a moment. But like my very good friend says, nobody votes for vice president. And that is true. That is true. Nobody votes for vice president. Nobody shows up and says, geez, JD Vance is the reason why I'm voting for Donald Trump. No. But they sure as hell will say, Tim Walz is the reason I'm not voting for Kamala. Then all the standard, just scripted actors nonsense of here we have our undecided voter panel. Did tonight's debate change anyone's mind? Some schleprock holds his hand up and he's like, oh, yeah. And this guy's right out of Soy Boy Central Casting. I mean, everything except for the man bun. And he said, I'm voting for Kamala Harris because JD Vance didn't give a straight answer on January 6th. I like it. Let me just say this now that I have a different audience than I usually do every day at this time. And my people, I love having you here. God, it's so good to see y'all. No one cares. The country quite literally does not care about January 6th. So much so that when it was brought up that Nancy Pelosi on camera said we were just waiting for this kind of trespassing thing. We were waiting. We wanted this. And then she said that not having a National Guard was on her. And now we have the FBI saying, yeah, we had some assets in there. We might tell you who they were after the election. No one cares. Like we saw it and we're like, yeah, we knew. We knew the feds had assets in the crowd, egging everybody on. We knew. We knew Nancy Pelosi was excited about this. We knew. And we also knew that Nancy Pelosi turned down the guard when she denied it. We knew. But we don't care. Look, we none of us, independents, conservatives, could not care less. We couldn't care less about January 6th. January 6th and how a Republican answers any account of January 6th holds as much weight as this light remote that I have. Nothing. We don't care. Yeah, and Rhonda says when J6 came up, you rolled your eyes. Collectively. I think people that weren't watching the debate heard a collective American eye roll at that moment and said, oh, wait, I think I'm missing the debate. I gotta go check that thing out. I got to tell you, I didn't watch the debate. I would be very honest with you because I knew I would have what I needed to have watching Twitter. So I was watching X the entire time. So I was getting clips, and more importantly, I was getting reactions because it does not matter what I see on a screen. To this job, it doesn't matter what I see on a screen because y'all know my opinion. Okay. Yeah. I'm an open book. I wanted the opinion of people watching. That's more important to me and not some paid actor panel of undecided voters. They think we're so stupid, but watching, and I'm going to, I have no problem talking about race, just so everybody's cool with that. I have zero problems talking about race. None. Watching the black posts, watching the posts from black men and women during this on Twitter had me rolling, absolutely rolling. Because again, nobody votes for vice president, but a vice president can completely derail a campaign. And if you're talking about black male voters, Tim Walz just jacked it up. Because I want you to be very clear. I am a man and I am unapologetic about being a man. You know who else holds that sentiment? The vast majority of black men in this country. We're men. And when we see somebody in a potential second to highest leadership role in the world, like Tim Walz, we all react the same. I was just seeing the X. I mean, they're just funnier than I am. That's just all there is to it. Whatever black men were posting on X last night, I was dying. You're so much funnier than I am. Holy cow. But men, and by the way, we're not going to run. We're not going to tuck tail and head for the hills on this. Toxic masculinity. Yep. I am as masculine as I can possibly be. If you're going to call that toxic, call that toxic. But that's the reason why I can talk about race. Because I'm a grown-up and I talk like grown-ups. The term J6 is more relevant to most people these days who are trying to find a concert or airline seat. It's true. J6 or bingo halls. J6 is bingo halls. Oh, there's no J in bingo. Is there? I don't play bingo. It's just bingo, right? And bingo is the name of it? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, but anyway, yes, it's B6 would be, but yes, correct. You're funnier than I am too, Brendan. So that's just the way it goes. We see it. We saw it. And there's, unfortunately, we can play clip after clip after clip after clip of the debate last night. Here's what we're gonna run into. BINJO. Thank you very much. See, Brendan always has my back. I appreciate you. BINJO. Sometimes it's a hard J. But we all saw it last night. The media is going to run from it. MSNBC was pulling a muscle, reaching for any of this. Jose, you're right. Vance owned the debate. But MSNBC, CNN pulling muscles, trying to stretch to find a way that Wells actually even performed well in that last night. So it wasn't there. Let's get on to this because you're not going to see any more of this. The mainstream media will quite literally paint over this as if it never happened. They checked it off of a box. We survived last night, so they would say, we got past it. Let's move on to ripping on Donald Trump. But let us move on to something more important. Wildly more important than the debate last night is we're now in the second day of a strike that will... You think inflation was bad coming out of the pandemic? Wait till you see inflation. If this doesn't get resolved, the strike for the longshoremen, the entire East Coast of the United States, every piece of land that faces east is now shut down to shipping. And what I saw last night in truckers that are just arriving with their shipment, they're not longshoremen. They're actually, they get paid by the mile, paid by time, however they're paid. They need to get their shipment offloaded so they can get the heck up to the next one. They have no dog in this hunt. See them getting lambasted, yelled at, screamed at, seeing fights at the gates. As disgusting is exactly what I was expecting when we saw the union boss out there talking about, we shut everything down in the world. Okay. Here's what you have now. You have slappy moves like fighting truckers at the gates, and you have a union boss who is probably the most unsympathetic character I've seen since Kamala Harris. I mean, he is winning no one. No one. His craptastic attitude towards we the people, his callous nature to we the people, and our plight and what is going to happen to us and what this is going to do. Yeah, now they're going to see who we are. We knew who you were. You were overpaid union people that did damn near nothing, at least in my experience on the West Coast and in Port of Long Beach. Sorry, we knew who you were the whole time. We knew that a robot and a machine could do your job like that. That's why part of their contract is no automation, because they understand that. Whatever happened to that? The Obama administration, I mean, the Biden administration, same thing. To Obama's third term. Whatever happened to the whole, they're going to go get green new jobs and new jobs in the new economy. Okay, good. Automate the ports so they don't strike, so we don't have this again, and they can go off to get green jobs. I don't think I have a problem solved right there. And I would be if it were a man talking to me like a man. Hey, listen, our counterparts on the West Coast, they got a heck of a deal. And, it's tough for me as a boss. It's tough for me as a boss to work with my guys and my girls. They're out there working hard. They really are. I mean, people think longshoremen, not really too tough of a gig, but I tell you, they work hard. They're honest people. They do an honest day's work, and they're looking for an honest day's pay. So our counterparts on the West Coast, they got this kind of a deal. We're just looking for something like that. So everybody's playing in the same field, and it's all good. And then we'll get everything back to going. We don't even have to shut this stuff down. But if we have to, because of corporate greed, that won't at least pay us what we were, what our West Coast counterparts get. Let me get some coffee so my mouth works. Our West Coast counterparts, told you it works, are getting, okay, we're going to have to strike. But talk to me that way. Talk to me that way. I want to hear that from you. I want to hear that from the longshoremen. I want to hear that from the union bosses. Hey, guys, you understand, right? I mean, if you're at your job and your buddy in the office next door gets paid so much more than you, and y'all do the same amount of work, do the same damn job, you might want to say, hey, let's make this fair. Let's definitely make this fair. 77% over 6 years is insane. And I think that Rhonda, is that's the demand that they're looking for, because they've already turned down 50% over 8 years. And their West Coast counterparts got 30%, 32% over 4 years. I can't read my own writing. 4 years. Tim Wells. I'm sorry. They're watching me. 32% over 4 years, and which I think is insanely fair. Or you know what? What you do? Yeah, this is what I would say. I would say, and we're going to go retroactively, I want my pay increase annexed to inflation. That'll shut a lot of people up fast. That will expose a lot of things fast. Here in Arizona, it's where I am. Great state of Arizona. I love my state. Our minimum wage is annexed to inflation. So there are a lot of people in the last not a lot of people. There's not a lot of people, by the way, that are actually making minimum wage. I want you to understand that it's a small percentage of people, of hourly employees, that make actual minimum wage, except for the last 3.5 years, because the last 3.5 years, minimum wage went up and up and up and up and up and up and up because it was indexed to inflation. Annexed to inflation, indexed to inflation. One of those. Tied up to inflation. And and everybody got a raise. So let's do the same thing with longshoremen. Retroactively, that's fine. What they're going to get is probably a 20% increase, boom, right off the top retroactively. And then if inflation goes up and down, as does your salary. I'm about that 100%. But this, you need to pay me more. It's going to end up same thing happening with UPS. UPS strong-armed the Biden administration. Biden administration stepped up, and now their drivers are making 6 figures apiece. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I mean, they're driving giant metal cans in the middle of summer here in Phoenix without air conditioning. I mean, dude, okay, you're doing something no one else wants to do. Hey, $100,000, fantastic, good for you. But they had to lay off thousands of workers because the pay for their drivers went up. So longshoremen going to get the same thing, or it's going to cost more to ship things, which is going to pass on the cost to us, which inflation is going to be impacted that way too. Yeah. Walmart's, Rhonda said, if Walmart can automate, so can the ports. That's why they're saying no automation. They're saying basically you can give us 100% increase in pay today. If automation is tied to it, no. Because they understand their job can be done by a machine. The majority of them. It's the truth. And that's called progress. That's called societal advancement. It's what it is. It's the right trajectory. And so for somebody to be a tough guy and I'm a union guy and I'm going to show America what this is about when we shut down and how important we are. Dude, I want you replaced with a robot. I don't care about you, dude, because you just said into a camera, you don't care about me. I don't care about my kids. You don't care about what it costs to put groceries in the refrigerator and put a girl through college. Thank God intern Beans, my daughter, did this. She got a scholarship. That's my girl. But it takes a bunch. And by the way, don't give me this garbage that college is free either. She's on a full ride scholarship, and I'm still stroking checks $1,000 at a time. Holy mackerel, parking, this and that. Scam college has become. It's become an absolute money-making scam. Time, another day. Talk about that. As a matter of fact, let's know. No, let's talk about this. This is our show. We can do whatever the hell we want. So longshoremen, to put that to bed, is going to lead to what Hillary Clinton called out last week, the October surprise. I'm going to get to college in just a minute because I don't want to skip this. The October surprise is this. Mark my words. You can save this piece of the audio, save this piece of the show, tweet it out. Do we say it, or do we say exit out? We don't say exit out. We had to talk to Elon about this X thing. By the way, he's coming up with Xmail to combat Gmail and an X search engine. Should call it Zoogle. XOOG. No, I like Zoogle. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, the October surprise. The October surprise is this. This strike is going to hurt. It's going to start hurting our economy badly. Bigly is going to start hurting our economy. So what do? You put Kamala at the head of a conference table, situation room, whatever it is. Union bosses all in there for their photo op. Kamala's at the head of the table. Strike ends. Strike ends with your tax dollars subsidizing basically a bunch of shakedown mafia people. Kamala Harris saved the economy. Kamala Harris saved the day. That's your October surprise. The October surprise is a big, giant W for the Kamala the hero, right? There's a big, giant W for that campaign in the Democrat Party, period. Republicans weren't stepping up. Republicans want the economy to. Kamala Harris stepped up and blah, blah. The only thing that will save us from that, is Kamala being Kamala. She won't be able to pull the scene off. Being serious. They put her in the situation room for Hurricane Helene. They put her in the situation room so she would look. She was in there with FEMA, so she would look like she's in charge and she's really got this. Couldn't even pull that off. Couldn't pull it off. So that would be the only thing that would save us from that attempt at an October surprise. The best thing that could possibly happen for that is if Donald Trump actually went and sat down with the union bosses and said, let's get this worked out. Could you imagine? Oh, yeah. But that's not why they're striking. They're striking to get Kamala elected, and they're striking as a shakedown. Is it because, again, the union boss said the quiet part out loud. He said the quiet part out loud when he said, we got you. We took care of you all these years. It's time for you to take care of us. He's talking to the Democrat Party. We got you elected. We gave you your power. We gave you your keys to the money-making scam that Congress has become. We gave that to you. It's time for you to pay us back. Okay. Okay, all right. Well, Truman says, I believe they would have potentially underestimated Kamala Harris's ability to pull off a gift-wrapped deal like that. It's up in the air. She's a 50-50 at all time. 50-50. And you're right, Ron, it is a plan. This is a plan. It's all scripted out. Let's get back to college, shall we? I was excited when I realized that my daughter was who my daughter was, and she was going to graduate with not one but two associate's degrees from high school. And going into college, I mean, she's wrapping up right now this year at Northern Arizona University, Go Jacks, at age 19. It's pretty impressive. I'm so proud of her. I thought that the scholarship that she got, which was full ride tuition, was going to be the end of it. I told her I have a certain amount of money saved up for your college, and this is whatever you don't use is yours at the end of your college. Or if you want to use it to grad school, which you'll want to do, if you're going to use it for grad school, this is your money. She's an academic. Thanks, Brendan. An academic savage. She is. And I go with the Dana White parenting rule. You tell your kids, if you are the least, just the tiniest bit savage, you're going to run through all these soy boys that are just graduating, these little frat boys that are graduating from ASU right now. You will just mow them down. Yeah. Yeah. Picture of a guy that Trump shaking hands, by the way. Pictures of that guy. Who's that guy? Who's that guy, Lynn? Lynn says there's a picture of that guy shaking Trump's hand. Okay. Anyway, let me know. But the scam that is college is so much further than just the indoctrination. And if you look at, there are, I believe, 4 of the top studies, the fields of studies or degrees that you could get in the United States at the collegiate level. I believe 4 or 5 of them now are at 100% Democrat. So getting past the indoctrination part. I know we really can. We get past the indoctrination part. We're good like this. You look at the money-making scam that it has been for our United States government. It has been a tax on people that do the right thing. And if you start looking more and more, you're going to find more taxes on people that just do the right thing. Right? I take care of myself. I think I'm in decent shape for a 49-year-old man. I have to pay more insurance I have to pay more in insurance because of people that don't take care of themselves. So here's what this government scam is. college, you get a degree or nothing, degree is the opportunity. You're going to make so much more money when you get out, which is a lie. Here, we're going to hand you $50,000 or $100,000. And you're going to go give it to a university that is going to indoctrinate you to our ways. But you're going to go get a university. We know damn well that the majority of you won't even finish college, but you're still going to owe us that money. So the universities say, wait a second. What if we raise the rates of tuition? What if we make everything cost more? How about parking as $1,500 per semester? How about we make it that? How about a food plan that would be like us eating at Morton's Steakhouse every night, expensive? How about we make that for some chicken nuggets? We make that a $5,000 plan. Let's go ahead and do that. And yeah, so my son is so pissed about the college scam. It's tough, Ron. It really is. While the university, thank you, Brendan, while the university is being fed subsidies. So the university gets subsidies. They get to raise up their rates because government's giving the money away for free. And then when the kids don't graduate or graduate, that you have to pay that piper. You have to pay that money back. The interest on those loans are one of the biggest revenue streams for the United States government. Only when they're not buying votes. When they're using it and canceling it to buy votes or suspending it, whatever the hell they do to buy votes, then that's a thing. College, until the government gets their hands out of it, and only private school loans are available, not government-backed school loans. Only then will college become affordable. That's it. That 1 year where it's only private, by the way, with those private loans, actually vet each of these people. Can you pay this back? What is the potential? What is the degree you're going into? What is the potential for you to pay this loan back? The government just, basically just does this whole thing right here and just, do you have a pulse? You got a pulse? Cool. Here's your $100,000. But if I am a young person, like this beautiful young lady I watched a video on yesterday, and I come up with this, game-changing invention. I can't get a $10,000 loan, $20,000 small business loan out of high school, but I can get a $100,000 student loan. Let me tell you about this. Oh, Truman, don't even get me started on books, brother. Oh, my beautiful girl, my intern Beans. Again, we have money saved for this. But she calls me up. It was a week or so ago. And she said, Dad, I just can't anymore. I got to go get a book for one of my classes. It's $80. I'm like, okay, go. The A sucks that it's $80. No, it's $180. Sucks that it's $180, but okay, go get it. But why'd you wait this long? She goes, I was holding out as long as I could. She goes, I thought I might be able to get through the semester without buying it. I'm like, okay, I love you. You're so your dad's child. But okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And then before she got the phone, I said, wait, Beans, listen. The author of the $180 book that you're buying, does that happen to be the same name as your professor? She goes, yeah, all of mine are. I said, why don't you say that again? Did you say all of your professors, the textbook is their book that you have to spend $180 on? Absolutely fleecing our children and American families with this. Absolutely crushing them. Then my daughter calls me up again. And for those of you who haven't seen me before, I'm Mike Russell. How you doing? This is in other news. We talk about everything. We talk about all life here, and including my life as a dad. And she called me this. I'm having a difficult time because I want to be a marine biologist more than anything. And I always laugh. I always say, you're going to be the only 6-year-old girl that says, I want to be a marine biologist. I want to work with dolphins. That actually sees their way all the way through that and becomes a doctor and a doctor of biological sciences. She said, I don't know if she goes, what if Kamala gets elected? And it was like, okay, all right, let's flesh that out. She goes, I don't think I will be able to make enough money in my chosen field to survive another 4 years, Dad, was when I'll go out into the real world. If inflation continues and prices continue to rise like this, housing continues to go down like this, she goes, I don't know how I'll pull it off. It's a 19-year-old thinking like this. 19-year-old. I mean, she's got a science mind, so she analyzes things. But I was like, no, baby, follow your dreams. In the back of my head, I'm going, she's right. She's right. How is she? Inflation, by the way, is not going down. The rate of inflation, here we go again. Give me some coffee. Here we go. Inflation increases are going down. So instead of 20% is 15%. You can't say, oh, inflation is down 5%. No, the rate of price increase is slowing down by 5%. So you flesh that out, and extrapolate that out to 4 years from now. I don't know how hell I'll survive. And how is a kid going to survive? I mean, she said this, look, if I'm going to get a doctorate, I'm going to be a doctor, a real doctor. I'm going to be a real doctor. I have to make real money. And then I started talking to her about that. I was like, malpractice insurance, overhead, staff. I was like, just there's a lot of things to think about. Yeah. Yeah. It's Mark Lee's why I question the ego. In Lynn, there is a rise when he said all of this malarkey. Shout out to Biden there, is why I question the need to go to college. I have questioned the need to go to college since I had children. And if you ask my kids, I don't say the word college. I said post-high school education. So I said post-high school education. You can get a post-high school education at ABC truck driving school. Don't care. That's a post-high school education. We're saving money for that. You will be able to do that. And that's important. And I hope that's important to everybody. And it is to them, and they understood. They're like, my son said, I might just want to go, use the GI Bill. I might want to, just go into the military, get in the reserves, have that paid for, and whatever, dad saved for college, I will, I'll go ahead and use that to start my own business or whatever the heck it is. And I can have college for free and still have that money to start my own business. See, kids are thinking, but you have to get away from that mindset. It's the same as a house, guys. I was in real estate for 15 years. So when you tell me this, you'll see me smile every time you say it. When you say the American dream of owning a home. Okay. I own a couple. So I understand that there is benefits to owning a home. I do get that. When the government and the banking industry started to advertise it as and sell you, propagandize you into seeing it as the American dream, that's when they started making the money. It's like that old saying, and that's when the big bucks start rolling in. You see, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, government entities gobbled up the loans. Now they're making money on every piece of interest you're shelling out. Oh, we'll give you a tax break. You do that math. It's very hard, unless you bought a home at the bottom of the market or near the bottom of the market, it's very hard to run a profit and loss statement on owning a home and seeing you come out in the black. It's hard. It's difficult. But it was sold to you as the American dream, just like college is the ultimate opportunity for a great life and an unlimited income. Such a great life you will see. You will have such a wonderful life. It's going to be great if you just go to college. Learn how to keg stand. Yes. Learn how to take weird types of shots. Yay. Experiment in drugs. Woo. Go to football games. Yay. But you're gonna have a hell of a career as a barista. Yes. My son is in trade, says Rhonda. I can't afford to move out. Got it. He makes more money at 26 than I did at 26. Yeah. Is able to live in your own place. Exactly. I remember here in Arizona, the great state of Arizona, our former attorney general was Mark Brnovich. Mark was a friend and kind of had a politics after the run for Senate or governor. I forget what the hell he's running for. I haven't heard from much of him since. Anyway, he got his law degree from Arizona State. No, I know there's a lot of jokes here, but he got his law degree from Arizona State, spending $650 a semester and working part-time, paying for his own way. You could do that back in those days, but way back in the 80s, right? Way back in the 80s. Okay, this is a good question from Lynn as well. What good does it go to truck driving school when there's nothing to haul because of the strikes? Actually, it's probably good to go to truck driving school right now because there's going to be an influx of business after the strikes. If you can't learn to do pro level solo keg stands, don't even don't even get in the game. I did one keg stand. I think it was on my 40th birthday. That was what I did, a keg stand on my 40th birthday. I'm still injured. I think I tore a rotator. I think I was doing it wrong. I don't know. Anyway. But that's it. It's the same scam that is perpetrated throughout this thing. When the government tells you it's the right thing to do, you need to really, really understand that it's probably not the greatest thing for you. It's the greatest thing for them. And for those of you who don't know me, I am an advocate of whatever your government tells you to do. Look at the opposite. It's probably a better option. I'm not saying do everything opposite the government says, but might as well look into it before you jump headlong into it. You stood on the top of a few kegs. All right, that's fine. Keg stands. That's right. That's why I do the handstand. I always tell people, my kids hate it when I do this. I tell people I can do a handstand. Like, you can't do a headstand to your toe, and then I stand on my fingertips. Yeah, it's a handstand. What? I'm a dad. I hear dad jokes all day. Wait a second. Oh, wait, out of high school. Oh, I thought you said $150,000 a month. I'm like, what's up, Rhonda? You paid $150 a month for a 1-bedroom furnished apartment with a garage. Damn. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me say it's 70. So I'm going to say what? I'm going to go with 75. So let's do this. We do this in real time. Again, if you don't know, by the way, that's intern Nuge and intern Beans, beautiful kids. If we always ask Siri live, we test things, we fact check things, we check it out. So let me see this. Okay, so can we say 75, Rhonda? Is that just fair? We're just going to go mid 70s. Okay. What is the equivalent of $150 in 1975? $877. So basically, Rhonda, what that was you paying $877, but still. Could you imagine $877 for a furnished apartment? You can't find it right now. You can't. You just absolutely can't. There's no way. I still to this day manage 2 properties. They are paying wildly under market rent. It's because they're cool people. They pay in cash. They don't make a lot of noise. And I'm just like, dude, don't care. I don't. And the guy who actually owns the property is like, we need to raise the rent. I'm like, okay, raise the rent, lose the tenant. Good job. But I'm telling you. There's a lot there. But yeah, so and you see where BlackRock is buying up everything. I think their goal is 2035 to essentially there is no private home ownership anymore. That's one of their deals. Mm-hmm. Are you going still, Brendan? Are you still on the kegs, buddy? Holy cow. Okay, one hand on the keg, one hand in the air, counting with your fingers, feet on top of the fridge, and biting the tap open. Damn. I pulled a muscle just visualizing that. Holy man. What's up, Gene? First apartment, 1974 is $140 a month. Yeah. So that even in San Fernando Valley. Valley, check you out. But that's kind of the same as what Rhonda was saying. So I mean, it's basically the same as like $800-900 right now. So that's 2-bedroom apartment in 89 paid $330 a month. I think y'all know in Arizona, I was by Superstition Springs Mall, not Superstition Springs, Fiesta Mall. That was it. Is that Fiesta Mall? Yeah, for Val Vista, whatever, off the 60. I was right there. That's where I was. That was my first. That was my first apartment. You went $1,300 a month for a 2-bedroom and 2-car garage. You were not. 9 years ago, you were paying $1,300 for a 2-bedroom, 2-car garage in Cypress. In Cypress? Hey, if I went to high school in California, I would have gone to JFK. I would have gone to JFK High School. Yeah. Holy. Yeah, I was right up the road from you there. Where in Cyprus? You message me on that. Let me know what's going on. This is another news. Again, this is how we do the show. We do cover very hard-hitting topics. We do, but we also want to talk about life and who we are and who you are and who I am, and just basically give everybody a breath. Give everybody a breath. We're going to be okay. We, the people, are the greatest group of people this world has ever known. Ever. Fine, we didn't build pyramids, but we all know the aliens did that anyway. That's right. We still rent in Phoenix. Been in the house for 8 years. Nice, man. Yeah. Best to take care of the place. And yeah, we have good owners. Basically, capped our rent years ago. Good for you, Brendan. Don't move. Don't let but you need to buy a house. You're throwing money away when you rent. Not anymore, you're not. Game changed. The whole game changed. And like Bean said, like intern Bean said, 4-bedroom, 2-bed. Damn, buddy, it's awesome. But like Bean said, if this election goes the way of the Harris, we are kind of hosed as far as being able to afford anything. And like Rhonda always says, it's a plan. It's all in the plan. This is a plan. This is nefarious as it gets. It just truly is. But all we can do is what I always tell you to do. Figure out how to adapt, figure out how to survive, figure out how to get ahead of the wave, and make sure that you're on the right side of it. And work hard on this. I would say this. I would say that in the next few days, and I'm just giving you this because I love you guys, and I really want to say, I've said it a couple times, I'll say it again. Next few days, hit Costco if you could, Sam's Club, whatever. Just get a few basics, get a few essentials. So when this does hit before the October surprise, if this is felt moving to the west side of the country, if it is felt, then we'll be able to minimize. And if you could, some thoughts and prayers would be fantastic for all of those that were impacted on the East Coast, in the eastern part of the eastern 20%, 25% of the United States, South, from this hurricane, that now because of these unsympathetic punks, they're trying to shake down the entire nation, can't get their relief supplies. Can't get what needs to get shipped to them to rebuild their communities. They can't get it. We like to do this, and I hope Val's still around because I'm gonna try to play something for you. We like to end each show with what we call a decompression session. And I was a huge Dukes of Hazzard fan. I watched every episode of Dukes of Hazzard. I could do Dukes of Hazzard trivia. I love me some Dukes of Hazzard. So I watched it as a kid. I was probably overweight just because of all the giant plates of food and fried chicken and stuff Boss Hogg would eat. I want a stack of fried chicken like that. I want a whole mess of fried chicken. I want a giant platter of ribs like that. I want to do that. And they were making fun of that. His name was Boss Hogg, for the love of grief, and he ate like a hog. They were making fun of that whole just thought process. But as a kid, I'm like, I want that. I really do. So I blame any type of obesity I had on that. So in today's decompression sessions, we like to end it. I actually saw a AI version of Dukes of Hazzard starring Donald John Trump and JD Vance. So if you could help me, I hope you're on there, Val, and you can help me, Rhonda, on this one. Here we go. Let's see if you get this up for us. That would be fantastic. Hey, here we go.
Just a good old boy. Never meaning no harm.
Let's go. Woo-hoo.
Beats all you never saw. Been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straightening the curves, flattening the hills.
Woo! Come on.
Someday the mountain might get them, but the law never will.
Everybody sing. Here we go.
Making their way the only way they know how.
Come on. Bring it.
That's just a little bit more than the law will allow. Just a good old boy. Wouldn't change if they could. Fighting the system like a true modern day Robin Hood.
And there y'all go. Today's decompression session brought to you by one of the coolest, absolutely coolest TV shows ever made, and the glory of the internet. Oh, the internet is absolutely undefeated, and with AI, it just keeps getting better and better by the day. Take that, Gavin Newsom. All right, y'all. Hey, Thanks for playing along. This has been a whole lot of fun. The Secrets from the Inside Radio Network is just something I'm very, very proud to be a part of. We're going to be doing my show the same time every Wednesday, just like we do it Monday through Friday. But on Wednesday, we're going to be sharing it with two amazing people that are doing really great things. And I encourage you to get over to their YouTube channel and get over to their social media sites and jump on where you can hear a lot more of the content that's going on. Right? Okay. So anyway, until next Wednesday, this is In Other News. I am Mike Russell, and I look forward to playing with y'all again tomorrow, right here on In Other News, right here at noon and on Secrets from the Inside Radio Network, coming up next Wednesday. Val, we good? How do we do? Oh, wow, look at that. It's my Ion logo. I'm over here now. I love pushing buttons. Did I push that button? I don't know what I did. I'm going to say goodbye, everybody. I'm going to tune out. Signing off. But yeah, we'll get this all ironed out. I promise we will, including all the audio and stuff like that. Anyway, you guys.